May the 4th be with you.
Can't do that.
Happy Star Wars Day, nerds! Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is, ladies and gentlemen, the Fan Upstate. Happy May 4th. Happy May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. So glad to have you. Welcome in. What's happening? How's everybody? How is your week? We are over halfway home at this point. It is Thursday, and you know what that means. We got Rashad Beard coming up here in just a tick over half an hour to break down some Carolina Panther football with us at 11:20 today. It's time for Fight Club with Lonzo, where we, the only show in the upstate that talks boxing, MMA, and professional wrestling, will get you all the updates and news from those three industries that you need. We got a John Jones story that we dabbled in ever so briefly yesterday, and we will elaborate upon that today. And no shortage of news out of WWE and AEW that we'll be getting to later on in the radio broadcast. We got a lot of stuff to get to. But Lonzo, I am going to come out the gate with this because I was having a conversation before we came on the air about it. And it seems like it's a split opinion on if this is weird or not. Can I grab clip 6, if you don't mind? You know, I tell people all the time, celebrities, athletes, coaches, they're not your friend, right? They shouldn't be role models. They shouldn't be idols. They're not someone, like, you don't know them. It is great when you meet a celebrity and they turn out to be nice people, right? Lonzo and I get the opportunity in this job to meet a lot of people, and there's not much that I love more than when I get the opportunity, as I did at SC Comic-Con last year. We had Jake the Snake Roberts here. Jake the Snake was one of my 3 favorite wrestlers of all time growing up. And when I met Jake the Snake last year, he was the nicest guy in the world, right? And you meet a lot of pro athletes, even when they're somewhere they're being paid to be and meet people, and they're still jerks. It was great. Dawn Staley is the head coach at the University of South Carolina for the women's basketball team. And obviously, Dawn Staley has rightfully gained celebrity status over the past few years for building a dominant basketball program there in Columbia. And it's frankly, it's well-deserved credit. Now, I like to think there are some things that Dawn has said and done that I love, some things that Dawn has said and done that I don't, just like any other person on planet Earth. But I found a pod yesterday that Dawn Staley was sitting in on. And I realized that Dawn Staley and I could be good friends. Dawn was late to the recording of the podcast. And during the podcast, she explained why. Here is what Dawn Staley was doing that made her late to recording the pod. I've never wanted to be friends with somebody so much in my life.
So here is someone who has graduated from watching CSI, NCIS, all that kind of stuff, and went, I know a judge. I think I'm just going to go watch the real thing.
Y'all, I've never connected with somebody so much without meeting them in person.
At the same time, she's right. It is a little morbid.
It sure is.
It is a little weird, but it's kind of cool.
Listen, as somebody who,
how do you turn around and not know why is Don Staley here? I mean,
as somebody who watched, I'm not exaggerating, Zoe, 24 to 28 hours of coverage of the Murdaugh murder trials. Remember that a couple of months ago when it was all the rage sweeping the nation? I put in probably 20 to 24 plus hours of watching that trial, watching testimonies, watching demonstrations, watching court breakdowns. I get it. The lady friend and I fall asleep almost every night watching various episodes of Law and Order, to the point that we take notes to compare and contrast the old Law and Orders to the new Law and Orders. We got full breakdowns on the difference between the way that Olivia Benson handles cases versus the way Detective Amanda handles cases. We got notes. And we have whole conversations about it. I get it. It's It's wildly, wildly fascinating. Don Staley is in my, like, if we were back in the old day, Don Staley just made my top 8, is all I'm saying. All right? Don Staley just got elevated to the top 8. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. She was late to record a pod, the Pivot podcast, to give them credit. She was on the Pivot podcast, and she was late to the pod because she was hanging at the courthouse watching a murder trial. And I'm going to tell you straight up, if somebody sent me a text, Zoe, and said, Rob, what you got going on? Do you want to head down to the courthouse? I won the lottery to sit in on a murder trial. Do you want to go? Yes, I do. Yes, I absolutely do.
Most people try to avoid jury duty and things like that. So it's kind of, I don't know.
I don't know that I want to be on a jury for a murder trial, but I absolutely want to sit and watch one. I don't think I've ever connected with somebody so much in my life. Like that, if I was in the dating game and a young lady was like, hey, for our next date, do you want to go watch a murder trial? Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do. I will pick you up on time. Let's do this. That's incredible. Incredible from Dawn. I think we all got it. We all got a weird hobby that we do that isn't down in the mainstream. Yeah, we all got something. Dawn's is heading down to the courthouse, getting the VIP treatment because she knows a judge and sitting in on a murder trial. That's unbelievable. I love that. I love that. Just when I think I couldn't love Dawn Staley more, she hits me with, my rec time is a murder trial. That's unbelievable. I love her.
But wait a minute. Here's where you're supposed to say, what is the Clemson coach doing?
Yeah, Brad, get it together.
If the Gamecock coach is doing this, what is the Clemson coach doing?
I don't care. I just want to hang out with Dawn Staley in a murder trial now.
The Clemson coach does it better than the Gamecock coach. They go to federal court.
I just want to go to a murder trial with Dawn Staley. That's all.
I'm guessing if you do,
want.
I'm guessing if you do, she'll be like, if you're going to see a movie, she'll tell you to shut up. You don't want, no talking. You might miss something. Would you try to talk to her? You're sitting next to her. You're hanging out. You're watching trial. Will you try to say, hey, what do you think about this? Because I don't think she'd go for that. I think she'd be like, hey, I'm trying to watch the trial. Shh. You would get shooshed.
Shoosh. Yeah, no, I listen, I would be happy to sit next to Dawn, not say a word, and on the way out of the courthouse be like, did he do it? What do you think, Dawn? What do you think, coach? What do you think?
Now, then's when you have lunch to discuss.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have lunch to discuss after that.
Coach, what do you say we hit the Chipotle and compare notes? All right, we got a lot of stuff we need to get to on the radio broadcast today. But before I do any of that, I got to send out a shout out to Jacob, who just texted the show and said, Rob, a printer toner just exploded on me. I'm ready for y'all to make my morning better. What? They can do that?
You weren't wearing white, were you? Because, I mean, you know.
I don't think it matters when a printer toner explodes on you.
I think if you're wearing black and it's black ink, it helps a little. I mean, your mouth wasn't open, was it? That's something totally different. I mean.
Yeah, how did this go down? How did this go down? How did this happen? Were you like picking it up and moving it? Did you drop it? Was it a faulty toner cartridge? How did this happen?
Or was it sabotage?
Yeah, or do you have a coworker that hates you?
Did someone think it was going to be a funny prank, or they're trying to get you back for asking too many questions in the meeting when everyone wanted to go to lunch? Is it one of those things?
I love that Lonzo's brain, very common thing happens, must be sabotage.
You know why, Rob? Because everything's a work.
Coming up on the radio broadcast today, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of stuff to get into. I want to last Saturday. Let me intro the conversation this way because we'll get to it in a minute. I don't think this is stealing content from elsewhere, because I think it's not only a very valid conversation, but I think it's an important one to have for the area. Last Saturday, there was a Greenville Swamp Rabbit hockey game. And in attendance was an A-list celebrity. That A-list celebrity was Diesel from Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel. So I had 10, 12 minutes where I didn't really have anything to do during the game. So I went and watched a little hockey with Diesel and his much better half. And he asked me the question, do you think that Greenville, South Carolina is large enough to, would be willing to, and could in the long term support an NHL team? You've got a Carolinas team up in North Carolina, the Canes, who, by the way, got a big 5-2 win over the Devils last night. You've got you got two teams in Florida between Tampa and the Panthers. So it's not like they can't support a hockey team in Florida. Do you think the upstate would be able to support a wholesale NHL team? Because, and Diesel made the point, and I think he's spot on, if there's ever going to be a professional sports team in the upstate, Lonzo, the only option is hockey. You've got MLS in Atlanta and Charlotte. They're not going to put another team right in the middle of two markets that are 2 hours away. You're never going to get an NFL team here. It's never going to be NFL caliber.
All right.
Size, not caliber.
But every pro team that's in North Carolina says Carolinas, and they act like South Carolina is also a part of it. So, I mean, the soccer team's doing it.
Yep.
We know the Panthers are doing it.
The Hurricanes do it.
So my thing is, if the Carolina Hurricanes do it, then we already have a team.
And that's going to be part of the discussion.
Because that's how I think it would be looked at.
Sure.
Okay, you already consider yourself for both states. Why would we put another team in there?
We're going to come to this because that is absolutely a part of the discussion. Right? You've got the Hurricanes in Raleigh. But Raleigh is how far from here? Like 7 hours, 8 hours away? I can't just jump in the car and go to a Canes game.
Well, you could, but I get what you're saying. It has to be a plan. It has to be
it's 4 hours. It's not awful.
It has to be a planned trip.
Right.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's 4 hours. Right, exactly. Now, if I got a notice that said, as we did last year, for instance, Chelsea FC is playing Charlotte FC in a friendly in Charlotte, I can get in a car and go to Charlotte on a weeknight for a game.
Yeah, because Charlotte's like hour and a half,
right,
2, depending on traffic.
And I can do it to Atlanta as well. Can't do it to Raleigh. 4 hours. That's a weekend trip. That's a planned trip. So we'll come to that conversation later on in the radio broadcast. Also on the show today, CP3 is out for at least 2 games, and the Suns are already in an 0-2 hole.
Wait. So there's a playoff game, and Chris Paul is hurt?
Bingo.
No, that's unusual.
Listen, get off my dog CP3, all right? Get off my guy CP3. My man is 50 years old and not only killing it for the Suns, but making the best State Farm commercials too. Him and his brother Cliff. Get off me. We'll talk about the NBA playoffs later on in the show as the Celtics spoiled the return of NBA MVP Joel Embiid last night. Mike Florio says he knows why the Bears passed on Jalen Carter. Now, I don't necessarily want to get into whether the Bears drafted correctly or not by not picking a defensive tackle. I want to talk about the reason they passed on Jalen Carter. It's probably not a surprise what that reason is, but my question is going to be, should we be applauding an NFL team for doing something that most of us would have done if we were a manager making a hire? We'll talk about that later on in the radio broadcast. The Bravos lit up the scoreboard last night. 6 dingers as they rout the Marlins again. The bats are hot, but there's a bit of bad news. Kyle Wright is going to the injury list as the injury problem continues for Atlanta. I can't figure this team out, but they did get to 20 wins. That's great news. We're going to break that down later on in the radio broadcast. And on top of all of that, Rashad Beard will be joining us in about half an hour from right now, actually about 20 minutes from right now, to talk Carolina Panther draft time. We're coming up on all of that as the show rolls on. My name is Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, is at the board. You're listening, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rob Brown Show. You're listening to the Fan Upstate.
You going somewhere or are you just stretching? Okay.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
Businesses of all types can qualify, including medical, professional, construction, even nonprofits.
Trey, May 13th, at home. Come on by.
We do a lot of work for doctors. Download the Innovation Refunds app now or go to getrefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of $26,000 per employee. Getrefunds.com. Getrefunds.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com.
I don't think you've noticed, but the stream has suggested a few crime shows for you to watch.
I have not watched that one yet, but I very much plan on it. Oh, I got to change this back to the cool bubbles. There we go. I've not watched that yet, but I've heard it's very good. But there's about 100 murder documentaries on Netflix that I've watched. I watch all of them.
Honestly, if you go up, there's more.
I've watched some old Perry Mason. Is there a new Perry Mason?
Yeah.
Is there really?
Yeah, he's mentioned it before.
Really?
I've seen it. I've seen the previews, but I haven't watched it.
I'll have to check it out. I've seen some of the old Perry Masons.
ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
$25 all-in tickets to over 3,800 shows. Concert Week is May 10th through 16th. It's the best time to get tickets to see
Concert Week.
like Beck in Phoenix, Big Time Rush, Fall Out Boy, Janet Jackson, Country Wayne, Shania Twain, Snoop Dogg, and many more. With $25 all-in tickets, you can fill
Does
your
Country Wayne sing country?
Country Wayne and his cousin Lil.
Lil.
Lil
Well,
Wang.
I was going to say, yeah.
The free Odyssey app lets you listen to local coverage for the team you love. Live stream your favorite sports radio station or jump back and listen to the best segments on demand.
Don't forget, we talk to the manager every Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Don't listen to some guy from the other side of the country tell you about your team. Live conversations for your local team. No matter where you are, your season, your Odyssey. Get in the game and download the free Odyssey app today.
A tradition of mine is to pick up at least one new college polo each year, and I'm always trying to find something that nobody else has. If you're a Clemson or South Carolina,
You mean on DA? Yeah, Carlos produces for them sometimes. And they make fun of him all the time. I'm pretty sure they were making fun of him today. So
Poor guy. I like Carlos with a K.
I think they do too. You don't make fun of someone the way they do if they don't like you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's usually how it goes. When you stop talking about somebody else, that's true proof that there's bad blood.
Because, no, we got bad blood. Big Tay-Tay fan.
We know you are.
I judge me.
There was no judging. Why are you looking for judgment when there wasn't any? It was just affirming. You gonna go see him, Kevin? Rob will, if he can find out where he is.
Oh, hell yeah. 100%. I've seen Willie before. It's great.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me to go, but
Baby,
yeah.
now we got bad blood. Hey! The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. Ross Dellinger covers college football for Sports Illustrated. Put up a piece yesterday I found kind of interesting. The growth in media rights importance over the past 2 decades, including college sports, has been very interesting to follow. There are teams basing their entire budget now on the money they get in from their broadcast partners. For instance, there's a big discussion going on right now with the Phoenix Suns because they broadcast their games on the Bally Sports Network. And of course, you have all heard that the Bally Sports Network is going bankrupt. They also broadcast the Arizona Diamondbacks games, and they have missed payments to the D-backs to the point that there's questions about whether or not that deal is going to be able to continue. The Suns are doing everything they can to get out of that, trying to move their broadcast games elsewhere, and they're having a hard time getting a valuation of what that means. Bally provides Suns games to less than 800,000 people in Arizona now. Part of the reason you put teams in big cities like Phoenix and Glendale is so that you can have a huge fan market, right? One of the things that a lot of sports, golf, I was going to say included, but really especially, has been working on is trying to modernize the broadcast. Because in this day and age, whether you like it or not, fans are not just looking for the game anymore. We are constantly on the lookout, Lonzo, for content. Even during a game.
Can't get enough content.
There's always more content to be digested.
And if you're not producing enough content,
you're done.
Yeah, well, and you get talkings too.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this industry, if you are not constantly producing more content, you're falling behind. There's only two directions, forward or backward. Well, the Big 12 is apparently latching on to that. According to Ross Dellinger, who wrote for Sports Illustrated yesterday, quote, the Big 12 is exploring a plan with its media partners to modernize the broadcast of its football games, including having live in-game interviews, more access to locker rooms before and after games, and recording live audio of its coaches before the game and beyond. Dellinger says that during Big 12 meetings this week, administrators and coaches discussed the plan at length, according to multiple officials that were part of the discussions. He said he asked the Big 12 about it, and a league spokesperson declined comment. Now, this is not, I don't think, entirely shocking for two reasons. One of the reasons is the fact that other outlets are doing this, and it's working, right? We have seen, last year, for instance, I'll give you the perfect example. Last two seasons, really, MLB was experimenting with doing live interviews with players on the air during games, right? During spring training, they would stick a mic and a headset onto a player, and they would go live to that player during the game. So they'd send the mic down to Dansby Swanson playing shortstop. Hey, Dansby, so-and-so's at the dish. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us how you're setting up, why you're setting up, where you're setting up. And Dansby would walk you through the process, and then there'd be a couple of yucks. It was good. Guess what Major League Baseball has started doing this year? They've started doing it during the regular season. Now, they're paying players to do it. One player, I can't remember who it was, but about 2 weeks ago was asked, why are players who are meant to be dialed in during these games willing to strap on a mic and an earpiece and have discussions with play-by-play guys? And the player said, because they cut us a check for about 10 grand every time we do it. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Lonzo, if anybody would like to have a private conversation with me off the air and you scratch me a check for 10K, I'll talk about anything you want to talk about. So if any of you one percenters out there want to head to the bar and grab some whiskey, I'll do it for a discount, Lonzo. I'll do it for $5,000. $5,000, I'll meet you at the bar after work.
Can't you just go start your own OnlyFans page and do the same thing? Then you don't even have to go anywhere.
Feet pics. $5,000, I'll send you a picture of my feet. Anyway, it's worked. Baseball audiences are up. Now, we can attribute that to the new rules, the new pitch clock, et cetera, and that's fine, but I think this is part of the process. So the Big 12 is looking at partnering with an entertainment agency, according to Dellinger. Brett Yormark is the commissioner. Yormark comes from an entertainment agency where his job was to create innovation in television. We have talked about the new Big Ten commissioner. What is his background? Television. The next round of college athletic directors and conference commissioners are not guys that come with a lifelong background in sports. They are guys that come with a lifelong background in entertainment, in television. There's a reason for that. The reason is media rights and media money are what drive a program. We can talk boosters all day, and that's important too, don't get me wrong. But these schools are collecting their coin from television broadcasts before everything else. So you bring in a guy to be your conference commissioner who comes from a television agency where his job was innovation. And now what do you have? You have a new style of providing content during games. It is no longer going to be Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit in the booth going, Buckeyes have the ball on their own 27. It's 3rd and 6. They trail by 3 against the Georgia Bulldogs. Now it's going to be 3rd and 3 on the 27. How do we attack that? Well, here's Ryan Day calling the plays live from the sideline. Or here's Ohio State left tackle so-and-so live from the bench. Molly's the sideline reporter in this case.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Yeah, I was there. You painted a picture.
Very vivid picture.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
my job. And for the record, I kind of like it. When I got this gig and we started talking about the direction of the show and what the show sounded like and all that, aside from the fact that I have complete editorial control over the show, which is one of the reasons I was very excited about working here, because I haven't always had that, was that I got told this is not about stats and scores. This is about human interest. It's about human interest. And as we pointed out earlier, with me and Dawn doing nothing but committing a solid chunk of our life to watching murder trials televised or in person, people are fascinated by drama. Everybody says they hate drama, but there's a reason that so many soap operas have been on television for 1,000 years. It is because we, as human beings, love drama. Sports is drama. Watching a team down 2 with the ball with 7 seconds on the clock is drama. It's just drama within a game. We love drama. And by getting more from coaches, more from players, more audio, more video from the sidelines, you're just upping the human interest in the drama. And I think it's good for sports. We can still have a great game that we're all super into. But now you're getting the side of it you've never got before. And I appreciate that. I am interested to see if this takes off. We have seen the rise of Athletes Podcast. We're going to be talking about one in a minute because Patrick Beverly does a podcast, the Bev Pod. And he said something really interesting, Lonzo. He said that he believes 50% of players in the NBA don't love basketball. They're just there for the check. And I want to talk about that later in the show. But we've seen a rise in player pods. It's not because Patrick and Draymond are some wizards that are out there changing the world for the better. It is because of the fact that we get drama from a perspective that we've never really gotten it from before. And we collectively are all in for that. How do you feel about this? Do you want a more modernized college football broadcast? Would you want live mics on your coach, live mics on your players, sideline interviews, new graphic updates, new camera angles? Because the answer to me is, hell yeah. Change is not bad. Change is good. Change for the sake of change is bad. Change to better something is good. And I think if you're adding elements to a football broadcast, it can only get better. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's Thursday. That means it's time to talk Carolina football. That means Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast is going to join us on the show. We will talk about the draft picks. There's a few I love, few I don't. Rashad got the opportunity to do a full draft breakdown with Steve Smith Sr. We'll see what Rashad's conversation with Steve Smith Sr. went like and more. That's all coming up next on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we're going to get Rashad on. We will be right back.
free. Without the ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running every.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Hospitals, factories.
Rashad Beard, what's happening, big fella?
Look at that side view, man. That's an awesome view.
Sorry, I'm working on some real work.
Real work.
I do actually work.
No, we believe it, Mr. Canada.
You got to work if you're going to Canada. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, why else would you go there?
Yeah, it's
Free
a good
health
point.
Let's get
It's a good
weird.
point.
The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. And, of course, on Thursdays, we talk Carolina Panther football. I mean, we do it every day, but we dive deep on Thursdays with the host of the Panther Nation podcast, which you can find on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. You can also go find them on YouTube by searching Panther Nation podcast. If you want more Panther talk in your life, Rashad Beard has got it for you. What's up, big dog?
What's going on, man? Coming off a big week. Lots to talk about, man. Let's get to it.
Let's start with this. And yet one more reason for people to go follow the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube. Man, you got to sit down and talk draft with Steve Smith Sr., the loudest smack talker in the game. How'd that go, man? It looked like I checked in for a handful of minutes, and it sounded like a damn good conversation.
Yeah, it was great. I think it was an awesome blend of fan perspective and conversations with the legend. Like he has a lot of information to share, a lot of insider stuff that we don't have access to. So it was a good blend of, hey, this is how the fans feel, but this is the reality. So it's a really good conversation. We were on Cut to It. Shout out to Dave, my co-host. We were both on Cut to It podcast, which is available on YouTube as well. So check that out. Run those views up over there, man.
Love it. Love it. It's always interesting from our perspective, Rashad, because in this gig, we constantly work to develop contacts and find new places that we can get information about what's happening. But at the end of the day, a guy that realistically, even though as a Saints fan, he used to drive me up a damn wall, should be a surefire Hall of Famer, is going to have some pretty good insight into the workings of a program that made him. So if you had to give me one or two takeaways that you got from Steve Smith Sr., maybe one or two that kind of made you raise an eyebrow, what would you say they were?
Oh, man. Well, there was a lot. And I got to be honest with you. We spent 4 hours with him. Only 2 of the hours were recorded. We went out to lunch. So there's a lot of information that, unfortunately, I cannot share. But the biggest thing I can share, which was on the stream, I think the biggest thing is that Tepper actually came up with the algorithm to make the trade up for number 1 overall pick. Yes, Tepper came up with that. Hey, we're not going to spend X amount on Jimmy Garoppolo. That was the other option that we discovered. And that, we're going to come up with this algorithm to, we don't have to spend this much over the next couple of years. And Tepper, being the analytics guy, the stock market guy that he is, he was the one that actually came up with the trade concept to go up to the number 1 overall pick. So that was the biggest takeaway that I came away with that I had no idea about.
So the other day we did a segment about this, and we're going to come to the draft grades here in just a second. But I said for 3 years I've been here, for 2.75 of those, I've been giving David Tepper hell because I felt like the guy was some combination of I own this team for profit more than success / I think I'm the smartest guy in the room. I was basically worried he was going down the Jerry Jones path, right? Of I'm just smarter than everybody else, so I'll make the decisions. And again, I don't even really fault him for the Matt Rule hiring. I do fault him for letting it get as bad as it did down the line. But the last 3, maybe 4 months have kind of redeemed David Tepper in my eyes a little bit. Like I was worried, all right, he's so focused on making Charlotte FC great, which is a soccer fan, cool. I'm really happy to see that. But as a guy who needs the Panthers to do well to get paid more money, I want them to be good, if for very selfish reasons. He's kind of redeemed himself this offseason by letting football guys do football things.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and I think we've been on record, absolutely, giving David Tepper the business on our show. So like the Matt Rule hire, all that stuff, he's learned from his mistakes. You look at the coaching staff. I'm sure he cut the check to get some of those names. Some of those names weren't coming to Carolina for the sake of coming to Carolina, right? They chose to come here partially because David Tepper was willing to spend the money. And now that he has those names, the big names around him, the football brains around him, I think that now he is making the right football decisions. And again, I don't think they have at the time, and based off of what I heard, I don't think they had a person in mind, right? They didn't know they were going to choose Bryce Young or, CJ Stroud was an option too, but they were in the position to control what they can control, right? They were controlling the entire draft. So that was the biggest thing. And that's what, obviously being the stock market guy is, you want to control what you can control. And I think it was a great thing that he did. And I give him all the props in the world because, again, we were able to dictate what we wanted to do in the draft and get the guy that we wanted and did not have to, depend on anybody else. So I think it was a great thing. And I give him props for that.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, joins us every Thursday to talk Panther football. All right, big dog, let's get into the draft just a little bit. And I want to start with the second pick. We've had plenty of conversation about Bryce Young. We all know how we feel about that pick, and we'll find out in a couple of years if that pick's going to be the right one or not. I want to go to the second round pick of Jonathan Mingo. I find this one really interesting. I like this kid a lot. I think there's going to be some development necessary to really get him to be the true number 2 that I think he can be. And I thought a lot of people thought Mingo was a little bit of a reach. I didn't. I think you filled one of the bigger needs on the team with one of the best available at that position. So even if you did reach over a couple of defensive tackles and other spots that maybe there were some more talented players on the board, I actually really like this pick because with so many guys in the locker room fighting to be that next guy behind Adam Thielen, law of averages says one of those guys is going to be the guy, and adding Mingo, I think, is a really good catalyst to kind of fire that competition up. How'd you feel about that pick?
Oh, man, I love the Mingo pick. I think that this guy, you have to look at the lineage of what Ole Miss is putting together. DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, these guys, who didn't play with the best quarterback talent. I know the guys on our roster right now, but it wasn't the best guy in college. You know what I mean? So these wide receivers, once they get to the NFL, they turn out to be, really, really good. I mean, he has great size. I mean, he's and I think one of the biggest underrated aspects of his game is the blocking ability. Like, this man can block. He's 6'1", 220 pounds. So he's moving guys. And when you look at that, the Thomas Brown offense and the LA Rams offense that we're looking to implement, your guys need to block. Cooper Kupp can block, right? That's an underrated aspect to the game. And I think that, again, he's got really great speed. I think he does very similar things to DJ Moore. I asked the question to Smitty. I'll let you have to go back and watch it. But I asked the question, hey, what does Mingo do that Smitty can, or that DJ Moore used to do? And then we kind of got into a whole thing. But I think he does similar things. You get the guy to football early and let him turn into a running back. And that's really what we got out of DJ Moore early. So I think this is a really good pick. I'm really excited about the Mingo pick. And what Steve Smith, and spoiler alert here with Steve Smith and what he said about him. He did say year 3. He's going to be a year 3. That's when he's going to peak. I think he's going to have a great year 2, but year 3 is when you're really going to see him take off. And so, again, I think we're in a good spot. And again, we don't need him to come out and be the guy day one. He can develop, like you're saying, play behind Thielen. And I think he's going to be a great player down the road.
So here's a question that popped into my brain with that pick. Lonzo and I have both been waiting for TMJ to really have that breakout. We've seen flashes of it so far. This is a guy who's got similar stature, plays not the same, but a very similar game to TMJ. Is this potentially a bit of a warning to TMJ? Like, you got to get it together and we need to see what you've been here a couple of years. We need it this year. Or is this complimentary? Now you got to freak on both sides with Adam Thielen kind of being the possession receiver in the middle.
I'm going to be honest. I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a little bit of a warning shot. And it's like, hey, if this pans out, man, we could have a really good 1-2 punch here. And I think that, with TMJ, you got to look at, he was under the other guy, which we don't really talk about anymore. But that other guy was not a very good coach. Once that guy left, like, he took off. Like, his numbers were insane, right? He put together like a pretty good season once he got out of here. And so we're looking to compound upon that and continue to develop. I'll give you a little sneak peek. I really said this even on my show. Steve really likes TMJ. He really likes TMJ. I haven't said that anywhere. So I think that TMJ, if he, is healthy, because health is an issue with him, if he puts it together, it could be a problem for the NFC South.
So, again, Lonzo and I have both been saying for a while, we both like TMJ. I know you have said a lot of complimentary things. First off, I love that we have a he who shall not be named going here for the other guy. I got the impression. In fact, I said this on the end of the season last year. There were some guys that after he who shall not be named left, kind of started breaking out. And then we learned that goofy story about the OOU guys, right? The guys who are and aren't OOU, which is frankly kind of a toxic mentality. When you were telling guys in the locker room on your team, hey, you're not one of us. You're not part of our team unless you do it. It was just kind of gross. Now that's gone. I think TMJ can be a breakout player this year. I just wonder if adding Mingo to the mix, if he does turn into the guy that I think he can. I think it was a great pick at 39. I just wonder if there's enough footballs to go around in that offense.
Yeah, I got to remember we're going to run the ball too. So I agree. I think it's going to be a bit of a balance. Even if you look at the Rams offense, you look at some of what the Colts do, and the ball is going to get shared. And Reich has been on record. And we talked about Bryce Young and his point guard ability. I think they're going to spread the football around. I think everybody's going to get touches. And I think it's going to be great. I'm excited to see it. I mean, just to me, even talking about it, like the fact that we have multiple options, which has not been a thing for a long time, is great to me. So as long as the offense, we're able to move the football, I'm for it. It's a team game. So if one guy's eating, then so be it. As long as it turns to W's, I'm okay with it.
All right, one more pick I want to ask you about, then we'll have to circle back around next week and get to the rest. But that's the third pick, DJ Johnson, edge rusher out of Oregon. This is an interesting pick to me. I did not think he was the best edge rusher on the board at the time of the pick, but in a 3-4, he has not only played down on the ground, but he's played some stand-up outside linebacker before, which is one thing I think the Panthers needed to address in this draft. Most of the higher-rated guys above him were pure defensive ends, like outside technique defensive ends. He's the guy that has experience standing up. Really good pass rusher, not a great run stuffer off of the edge. Now, we'll find out if he can adapt to that at the outside linebacker pick, but what were your overall thoughts on DJ Johnson getting picked up?
Yeah, I didn't like this pick initially. I still think it's a reach. I think we reached for this guy. I think we panicked. We saw a lot of edge rushers start to go. And I think what happened was they were looking for a specific type of edge rusher. They weren't looking for a guy that's, coming off with speed and is just going to beat guy. I think they were looking for a run stuffing type, or a guy, not necessarily run stuffing, but a guy that can set the edge, right? Because that's what we don't have. That's what we wanted out of a YGM, and it's not working out with him. And so I think that's what they were looking for. This guy does have strong hands. He's really good at stopping or setting that edge and not letting guys get around him. I think that the thing that I don't like about it, though, is he's 24 years old. He has to develop, right? By the time he develops, he's going to be 28, 29 years old. I mean, like at that point, you're hitting the middle of your career. It's about over. But I think that there are some question marks with this one. But I will say this: if we are all in on this coaching staff, and we're saying that we've got Evero, we've got Dom Capers, and we got all these guys, we have to trust them. If this is a guy that they were pounding the table for, we have to trust the fact that they're going to develop this guy into something good. And I'm trusting that. Again, I'm still 50-50 about the pick, but I'm putting it in their hands to let them develop and see what happens.
All right, we got a few more guys to talk about. Chandler Zavala out of NC State, Jimmy Robinson, a former Gamecock turned Seminole. We will talk about those guys next week. Real quick, 10 seconds or less, overall draft grade for the Panthers.
I give it a solid B+. I think the trade up to get the DJ Johnson, I was not a fan of that. You trade up to the Steelers, and then the Steelers go and pick up Darnell Washington and Nick Herbig, who are two guys that we brought in. So I didn't like that, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, but more importantly, make sure you search and subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube. Big dog, appreciate it. Good stuff as always, man. We'll do it again next week and get to the rest of the draft.
Yeah, man. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you go cut to it. Check it out. Steve Smith, PNP. Great show.
Phenomenal interview. I'm going to finish it up today. Can't wait. Rashad, see you next Thursday, big dog.
Peace out, guys. Thank you so much.
There you go. That's Rashad Beard. We're back after this with the second hour of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Appreciate you, big guy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Yeah, anytime.
See you next Thursday,
anytime.
brother.
All right, man.
Want the most effective way to learn another language? In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons will have you learning another language in as little as 3 weeks.
Babbel is all conversation based.
So Dave, we usually just get Rashad on Thursday's trip. Dave will join us every now and then when Rashad's out. But Dave's usually busy on Thursday mornings. So we got Rashad. We got Rashad, and also Dave is busy on Thursdays. We were happy to have both of them. But when we did the scheduling and it worked out, this was just the one. This was the time slot that we could schedule it to be a weekly thing instead of trying to make it up as we go week in, week out.
If you want to learn a new language, there's no better way than Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
At Spectrum Business, we believe small businesses like yours are the backbone of our economy and the heart of every community. That's why we provide the best value for internet, mobile, business phone, and TV.
Plus, my favorite part is Rob is surrounded by great hair when Rashad's on. Not saying that Rob's hair is not great, but you know,
Do you see how much gray is coming into this beard? It's unbelievable. Like there's like a streak of it coming in now.
Wow, glad I don't have to worry about that. Although I am, like 18 years older than you, so it's probably not quite that much. Actually, I think it's like 15. Get the brush thing. To get the day thing, the 1 day thing. Just try it and see what it does.
I'm gonna leave it because I'm kind of curious as to what I'm gonna look like as a silver fox, because I will be a silver.
This is a silver fox. You're hoping for some Sam Elliott vibes, right?
Yes, though I can't grow a mustache, so I'm just gonna have to stick with my Joe Dirt white trash beard with gray in it.
When we each share one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Hello, I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. I'm so proud that we've helped over 15,000 businesses claim over $5 billion in cash incentives. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to take another look. Every client is assigned a license.
Let's go to
who evaluates your company at my
clip
to accurately determine eligibility. Innovation Refunds has hundreds of
for
reviews
when we come back,
Trustpilot and Google, and your business might be entitled to receive up to $26,000 per employee. Businesses of all types can qualify, including medical, professional, construction, even profits.
I agree. Listen, as a Saints fan, Steve Smith used to drive me up a wall, not because of the smack talk, but because of the smack talk, and then he backed it up. But Steve has done a real good job evaluating wide receivers. I agree with you.
Where are you going?
Oh.
T1, just a sports guy. That's it. It's all sports all the time, nothing else. There's no other extracurricular. It's all, this is what I need to watch. This is what I need to, all sports. There are people like this. There's some people like that with politics. It's a sports guy. Yes, a sports guy. Not just a sports
Mints are a wonderful, what do you call it? Hunger depressant. Appetite suppressant. That's what I'm looking for.
I would assume that was a sports guy. You're almost, but a true sports guy, there's nothing else but sports.
Same great show, new time. Now 9 to noon, only on the Fan.
I don't think that mints are appetite suppressants.
They are. They're for me.
If whatever works for you.
Mints and caffeine are appetite suppressants.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate on your HD radio at WFBC HD3. There's just one more thing. And your computer at thefanupstate.com. Mark Ryan tells it like it is.
You saw him on Last Chance U, head coach of Independence Community College, Mason Brown. Coach, how did we get to where we are in college football today? Because this doesn't feel like it's best for young people.
We allow too much. Teachers allow too much. Bosses allow too much. The common folk allow instead of direct.
This seems oddly specific, Kevin.
We're allowing things at an all-time high. We've given the car keys to the kids without
No, I'm good. I'm good. No, I was not going in the back room to use just for men. I'm embracing my being old.
No, he's not. He is not. You keep going. I'm okay with it. It's like you're trying to convince yourself.
I also am.
I mean, I'll be 55 in a couple of months. That's when you really can go, man, I am getting old. Old to me is 60. I'm like 5 years away from being old. I may joke about it. I don't feel old spiritually and as a, I don't know,
But
person.
physically, I am falling apart.
Yeah, physically I'm having some problems, but that's thank you football. But
Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show goes right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do? Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. What's up, world? I hope everybody is well. Hope you're having a lovely week thus far. Thanks to Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joining us in that last segment. How about him dropping some not even on his show takes yet?
I want to know about the stuff that they can't air.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't just come out and say that. I mean, talk about the ultimate tease.
Yeah.
Now I want to know. I'm willing to go up to Charlotte and take him out to lunch or something.
What's in the box?
Yeah, I want to know what that was.
Said he told me some stuff I can't share. Well, then why would you say that? You know what it was? You know what that was? And as somebody who does this a lot, I know what it was. Hashtag humble brag.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's all it was.
Oh yeah, but it's something you could share with your boys, your colleagues, because we wouldn't say anything. We just kind of want to know.
That was Rashad just making sure that Zoe and me and all of just had some lunch with a Hall of Famer. No big deal. Should be a Hall of Famer. Will be a Hall of Famer, I think. Did be down the road a little bit. But yeah, man, I just, the other day, casually went to lunch with a Panthers icon, talked draft. I can't tell you what was said, obviously. That's above your pay grade. That's what happened.
I don't want anyone to think that we have a problem with that, because we don't.
Hell no, I'd have done the same thing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but I still want to know.
Yeah. I would have done the same thing.
We probably would have did it worse.
100%.
I mean, the way he did it was smooth.
I'd have dropped it every 3 lines. Well, Steve did tell me something about that. I can't tell you what it was. You know who Steve Smith Sr. is, right? Yeah, I had lunch with him the other day. Did I mention that yet? Hell yeah, I'd have done worse.
It was a 4-hour lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so they hang.
We didn't just have lunch, bro. We had drinks.
They hung out. Yeah.
That's a fact. All right. Let me get to this. Last Saturday, Diesel, one half of Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel, which airs every weekday right here on the Fan Upstate from 3 until 7 p.m. Phenomenal show. Make sure you check it out. Diesel came to the Greenville Swamp Rapids game. Your boy was there, had a few minutes of a break. and went over to sit and spend a few minutes with Diesel and his better half. And Diesel brought up what I thought was a very interesting conversation, and I know it's one he's had before, but we put together some thoughts, and I wanted to bring them up here. Diesel asked me, do you think that the upstate is a reasonable destination for a professional sports team? NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, etc. And I said, I absolutely do, but I think there's only one option on the table. And he agreed with this. You can't have a Major League Baseball team here. A, you're too close to Atlanta, the Kings of the Southeast. You're not going to cut into that market anyway. But B, the next likely, I'm not guaranteeing it, but I think the next two likely cities to be discussed as potential expansion slots in the MLB are Nashville and Charlotte. Charlotte is being kicked around, and I can tell you through a secondhand source, but I know a former Major League Baseball player who's still pretty in touch with the league. Charlotte and Nashville are two of the front. Oh, by the way, zero connection. Make sure Saturday noon before you listen to Bet for the Cycle with former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker and myself. Unrelated, no reason to bring that up, just talking baseball. But Charlotte and Nashville are two of the cities that are being considered in the next round of MLB expansion, which Cody and I both believe will happen by probably 2026-27. Once the A's get out of Oakland, there will be expansion. Cody and I both believe there will be one team that is set internationally and one team that is added to the contiguous United States. One team is either going to go to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, home of some of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And one of them, a candidate, not the destination, will be Mexico City, which, by the way, I have some hilarious sound from Logan Webb, starting pitcher from the Giants. They played in Mexico City last weekend. And he said that about 3/4 of the clubhouse came back with a specific issue they've been dealing with this week. We'll talk about that.
Does it require penicillin?
No.
Oh, I can't wait then. I mean, that was my first thought.
No. Let's just say Montezuma had his revenge.
Okay. Which is not nearly as bad as where I was going.
So, Charlotte and Nashville will likely be duking it out with one of them getting the next MLB expansion team within the States. Either way, with Atlanta, that's too close to consider Greenville for a Major League Baseball team. The same is true with the MLS. You've got Charlotte with Charlotte FC. You've got Atlanta United right down the road. Greenville right in the middle cannot support an MLS team. We are nowhere near big enough, I don't think yet, for an NFL team. Even if you consider the entire metro, including the Berg, you're looking at an audience of just a tick over 1 million. Likely not big enough for the NFL to justify sticking a team, once again, halfway between Charlotte and Atlanta. So the only option left on the table, in my opinion, is the National Hockey League. The NHL is a possibility. We know you can have success with hockey here. The Swamp Rabbits have been doing it. Now, they did get bounced from the Kelly Cup playoffs a couple of nights ago, so their season comes to its conclusion in the first round of said playoffs, but they've been to the playoffs 3 years in a row. They have been very, very close to winning the ECHL a couple of times, and they've got good numbers attendance-wise. I like to give credit for the entertainment value of the games, but that's just me. Secondly, the next closest hockey team is the Carolina Hurricanes. But they are about 4 to 4.5 hours away at the PNC Arena in Raleigh, which, by the way, I am surprised that team wasn't put in Charlotte, but hey, it is what it is. They're in Raleigh. It's a solid 4.5 hours away from here. Is that far enough to justify putting a team here? I don't know. Now, the question mark would be, And I think the only aspect of this conversation that's in question, could the infrastructure of the area support a professional sports team? You would likely have to get an arena slightly larger than the Bon Secours Wellness Arena, which is a great hockey arena. It's a great hockey arena, but it holds about 15,000. You would need to up that number to 18 to 20,000, I think, for the NHL to consider it. But here's the thing. Kevin just popped on the stream. He said, I bet you $1,000 if you take a vote from the whole population of the upstate, the people will vote against the pro team. The upstate is congested enough without a pro team.
See, I was going to jump in. I was waiting until you were finished so I could jump in and say the exact same thing. I've lived here nearly half my life. In order to attract that sort of thing, you have to be a certain size city. Now, you can throw in like Green Bay, but Green Bay was one of the original football teams, so that's why they still exist. When they say small market, they don't mean this small of a market. So I think the majority of the people who are here and from here, it's all right. It was an authority. They're allowed to do that. The people who are from here who don't like people coming here, and it's still happening. I think you're going to get the transplants going, yeah, we need this. And the people who lived here their entire life are like, no, because they still want it to be small town. And population size, it still is kind of small.
This is where I get myself in trouble because I'm not a local. I'm not from here. And
again, as I pointed out, I'm not from here either, but I've been on radio over 23 years. I've heard everyone, the locals say this. I've been told Yankee go home since I got here. So I know what the overall mentality seems to be.
I am not from here.
And as I said on 385 every day, thinking, and people who sit on 85 think the same thing, where did all these people come from? Because there used to be a time when I didn't have to deal with this.
One of the conversations I've had with people who are from here is that sometimes, and this is going to sound harsh, primarily because it is, as my old man used to look me dead in the eye and tell me, Lonzo, sometimes, young Rob Brown, the world's not fair. You may not like more people coming here. I get it. I've only been here 3 years, and the city has grown, the Greenville area specifically, has grown dramatically even just in the 3 years I've been here. So those of you that have been here a lifetime, I'm sure it's completely different than you recognize. But here's the reality. It doesn't matter if you don't want the city and the area to grow. It's going to. You have a very, very lovely place to live. I tell people constantly, the single best decision I have ever made in my life was not unpacking that U-Haul and driving it here to the upstate of South Carolina to live. Best decision I've ever made was coming here. You have a lovely place to live. It offers something for everybody. And it's a great sports community from that angle. And those of you that think that a way to slow that down is to not invest in further infrastructure is wrong. The only people that you are hurting by slowing down an upgrade in the infrastructure of the area is yourself. People are still moving here. They're going to continue to move here. And the more you don't improve infrastructure, the more clogged it's going to get. You can blame the out-of-towners if you want, but you know they're coming. You know they're not stopping. And so if you don't make the necessary upgrades to your infrastructure, it's kind of on you.
All right, this is the equivalent of using that talking down tone to be, you guys, you just don't understand. It's going to be okay. And you use that tone to the people who've lived here I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm saying that I've heard people do that. And no one likes being talked down to and told how things should be done where they are.
I get that. That's a mindset that a lot of people have. And I understand. But sometimes people take that the wrong way, even when you're just pointing out you're wrong.
But if Greenville were to get a pro team, the best kind of team for them to get would be hockey. And here's
It's the only kind you can get, but I agree.
I am not disparaging hockey, but hockey has a niche fan base to the point where you're probably not going to get overwhelming traffic concerns and things like that when they come in. And it also would be a gateway to other sports coming in, pro sports, if hockey were to come here and be successful on the NHL level.
So that's the other mindset that I've gotten when we've had this conversation out and about, is that, it's hockey, right? Like, you're in the South. Well, that would be fine, except for who was in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year? The Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers. They play in Miami, dude. The Carolina Hurricanes.
I get what you're saying.
The Dallas Stars.
But Florida and South Carolina are two totally different places.
Cool.
You should know.
South Carolina aren't they different? And there's a team from North Carolina.
They are though. North Carolina is different than South Carolina.
Here's what I'm going to say. I appreciate those of you who want to believe that hockey can't exist in the upstate, but they said that about soccer. And Charlotte FC has been pretty damn good attendance-wise.
Still, again, that's North Carolina. It's not South Carolina.
I don't disagree. It is an hour and a half away. Like, yes, there's a difference between my neighborhood and the neighborhood next to it, but those two neighborhoods have more in common than my neighborhood in downtown Greenville. And my neighborhood in downtown Greenville have more in common than my neighborhood downtown Greenville have in common with Charlotte. But Charlotte and my neighborhood in downtown Greenville have more in common than Charlotte and Minneapolis, Minnesota. But if there's one city that you're going to use as an example of a place that you would think hockey wouldn't fit, Nashville, Tennessee would be it, y'all. I don't know how many of y'all been to Nashville. Nashville tries to stick so country that when I talk about Nashville, I can't help but say y'all. That's how country Nashville is, y'all. And yet, the Nashville Predators are thriving in Nashville. No, they're not that good. But see, here's the thing. You think hockey's niche. It is. I'm not disagreeing. It's a very niche sport. But I'm
just saying, out of all the sports, out of all the major sports, it is the most niche.
Without a doubt. I don't disagree with you. But the Predators and the Hurricanes have proven something. And it is this. And this is going to upset the hockey people as much as it's going to upset the people who don't want hockey in the hood. When you put a team into a community, you don't force the culture of the sport on them. You let the culture impact the sport. Let me tell you about the Tampa Bay Lightning when they moved to Florida. I lived in Florida at the time. I went to to Tampa for a Lightning game one year, many moons ago. This is before they were really good. And I got a buddy who lives in St. Pete. We went to a game. I drove down there. And I was like, do we need to go ahead and buy tickets? And he's like, nah. And I said, why? And he goes, you'll all but pick them up off the ground outside of the arena. I think we got there and we bought tickets for like $11 to an NHL game. And once I got in, I realized why. It was because the Lightning did something at the time that the Predators failed to do, or that the Predators did, and that the Canes did. You know what they did? They didn't say, hey, Southern town, this is how hockey culture works, right? This is a sweater, and here's what we do for celebrations. They're sellies where we come from. They didn't do any of that. Tampa did, and it took a very long time to get the people of Tampa into a game for the Lightning. Nashville didn't. You know what Nashville did? I've gone to 2 Predators games. You know what, as James just pointed out, Smashville does? If you go to Nashville, if I brought you to a Predators game and didn't tell you what the Predators were, you'd think you were at a college football game. It's tailgating. It's meat on the grill. It's a country music concert happening at all 4 stadiums of Bridgestone Arena. It's the Titans offensive linemen taking off their shirt and smashing beer cans up in the suites. It is a college football environment around a hockey team. It's not a hockey environment at a hockey game. It's a college football game at a hockey game. The Carolina Hurricanes bought in. They started doing the post-game sellies. Remember Cherry calling them a bunch of jerks? What did they do? They printed T-shirts that said the Carolina bunch of jerks and used the Hurricane logo as the O and of. It was great. They leaned into the culture there. It's a Southern mentality, but we just play hockey instead of football. It can be done. It has been done successfully twice at the minimum, at the bare minimum. Florida and Tampa both eventually figured it out. And what's happening now? Now, all of a sudden, not only are those arenas full, but those teams are putting together playoff teams. 2 teams from Florida went to the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. One of them is still alive, and it ain't the one you thought it was going to be. So the point here is, while it is a niche sport, and I'm not arguing with that, the key is not to bring a niche sport here. The key is to bring a sport here and then build the culture around it. We are going to do a hockey game the Greenville way, not the Minneapolis way, not the Newark way, not the Toronto way. We're going to do it So, I would make a few arguments. Number one, the Metro is large enough to support a professional sports club. Probably not an NFL team. You can't do NBA, NFL, or MLB. You're right in the middle of the marsh. You can't do MLS because you're right in the middle of 2 major markets. The only one you're not is hockey. So that's the sport to go with, A. B, I understand the infrastructure argument. But here's the thing. The city is growing at a ridiculous pace anyway. So by not fixing the infrastructure, by not upgrading and increasing the infrastructure, whether there's a pro team or not, you're hurting yourself. Because the people aren't going to stop coming. You've got a great place to live. You don't have to like it, but people aren't going to stop coming here. So you got 2 options. You do nothing, and you let them overrun the infrastructure, and it sucks for everybody, including you. Or we push forward with infrastructure upgrades. We increase the capacity of the infrastructure, and everybody comes out better for it on the other end. And C, while hockey is a niche sport, and I'm not arguing, we have watched what Nashville has done. We have watched what the Carolina Hurricanes have done in Raleigh. They have built the culture around the hockey team, not built a hockey culture around the community. You build the community around the hockey team. And when you embrace the community and you make it feel like an in-group, people want to join. People want to be there. People want to be part of that. And I think it could absolutely work. All right, your thoughts are welcome. The GillstrapFamilyDealerships.com phone line is right there for you. 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. Or text us on the text line, 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, and we'll read them on the air. FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air. We're coming back right after this. Got a few more things I want to get into, including that Patrick Beverley sound I told you about. The GM of the Ravens. They got the deal done with Lamar, and now all of a sudden, they're buddies again. He's taking the heat for the breakdown in the relationship. We're going to talk about that. And a big-time broadcaster yesterday announced that the Carolina Panthers are his surprise team in the NFC. I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't be surprised at all. All that and more coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got a live read right here. Stay right here. We'll be right back.
Now, CBS.
All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. You're all spectacular people. In honor of Star Wars Days, if I give you 3 Jedi versus 3 villains from the sagas, who you got and who would come out on top? Obi-Wan, Luke, and Qui-Gon. We both get a set of 6. Obi-Wan, Luke, and Qui-Gon versus Vader, Maul, and I mean, I kind of think you got to go with Emperor Palpatine, right? Or does he? The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the fan upstate, ladies and gentlemen. What is happening to me right now? I got to get my life together. Let me grab clip number 5, if you don't mind, please. Great one. Colin Cowherd. Now, I'm not a big Colin Cowherd guy. All right. I think Cowherd is a hot take expressed artist. I really do. But as I've said about he and others in the past, if Colin Cowherd and I land on a similar take, I think there's something to be said about it. When a guy who is known for saying things that are a bit outlandish for attention, and I think he is, end up with a similar take, when I do my best not to make up a take. Let me clarify that. Sometimes I'm going to have a take that's going to spark some discussion, but it's genuine. I don't create hot takes, or at least I do my best to avoid it. When we land on a similar take, I think there's something to be said for it. Yesterday, Colin Cowherd was listing his top 10 teams in the NFL after the draft. And he included the Carolina Panthers in that number at number 10. Colin Cowherd gave this as his take on where the Cats stand. So, he says they play.
Did he mean the NFC South is a tire fire?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I caught that too. I was going to let him slide. We all misspeak in this industry.
I'm not.
I am going to let him slide on calling the NFC South the NFC North. I mean, the NFC North is a dumpster fire too, but not quite as bad. Anyway, Lonzo, I'm just going to say, if you've been listening to this show at all, you already knew this, right? Like this, I guess I don't understand it. Maybe it's just because they've been so bad for so long that they've just fallen off the radar entirely. But I genuinely do not understand how people are looking at this team and thinking they're a surprise team.
Yeah, I'm a little worried because one of the writers of the narrative nationally has just pointed everything towards the Panthers. And I don't like Colin Cowherd. I don't know how you could fashion your career after Colin Cowherd or want to be him or be like him. It's just he's just wrong a lot. And that bothers me that he's wrong so much. If he's praising Carolina, then I'm worried for Carolina.
So let's start with
I mean, he's right on everything he said is because like we've been saying this, but we were saying all the pieces that were there last year, what could be done if they just tweaked and did a few things, and everyone was destroying them last year.
Let's start with this. Our job is not to be right. Our job is to be entertaining. And
you know what is unless you're wrong every single time and that's your deal and that's what makes you entertaining, that's fine. But if you're come across with an arrogance and you are an elitist, which he absolutely is, in all ways he's an elitist, it becomes annoying. Although if you're watching just to see him be wrong, you're going to see it some. I don't understand the popularity.
So again,
it's like blind, like suddenly, wow, look at Carolina. The thing he said, the best thing that he said is the best coaches in Carolina. Because we've never really talked about that from that aspect. The best, as far as the NFC South goes, the best coach is in Carolina.
correct. We'll get away from the criticism of Coward because, like I said, our job's not to be right; it's to be entertaining, and he very clearly is.
It's bothering me that you're saying that.
It doesn't matter if it bothers you.
No. Well, our job is not to be right.
Correct.
But our job is to be right more than we're wrong.
No, it's not. Our job is to be entertaining, right? Our job is to drive dialogue. It doesn't have to be
If we are
positive.
wrong all the time, why would you listen to that?
Because we're entertaining. I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't like that it's that.
All right. I'm just going to talk about me as a listener, not me as a guy who's on the radio. Me as a listener, if I hear someone who's wrong all the time, I'm not going to listen to them because you lose validity. Yes, you're an entertainer, but at the same time, you got to be right some.
So
it's like being a jobber in wrestling and never ever winning. Are you a fan of the jobber? No. When he comes out, you know the guy he's going against is going to win.
Like I said, it's
Fight Club hour from now, by the way.
Correct. It is subjective, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're right 100% of the time, wrong 100% of the time, or somewhere in the middle. If you're entertaining and people are watching you in numbers, you get ratings. Now, to get away from Coward and get back to the discussion, I don't get how it is that so many people are labeling this team a surprise. Because this team, this offseason, as I've mentioned, has done almost everything right so far this offseason. Almost everything right this offseason. You know, there's a couple of reaches in the draft that I didn't love. A couple of trades that I didn't think were necessarily necessary.
And they still have to win on the field with a coach that just got fired last year.
Correct, or none of this matters. That's 100% correct. But, like I said, I do not think that this team has done anything wrong. Scratch that. I think this team has largely done everything right. I can't say they've done nothing wrong, but we'll find out. I think they've done largely everything right. But even just looking at the talent that's been brought in, you brought in a coach who is arguably the most coveted head coaching candidate in the game this offseason in Frank Reich. You made the move to get the number 1 overall draft pick. You brought in a guy who was clearly the most coveted quarterback in this draft in Bryce Young. There's no arguing with that. You brought in a lot of free agent talent. Yeah, you lost DJ Moore, but you brought in another DJ and DJ Chark. You brought in Adam Thielen, the best possession receiver in the National Football League. We'll see if he can still put up those numbers consistently moving forward, but so far so good. You brought in Von Bell, leadership in your defensive backfield, a spot you needed it. And then you had, again, a B plus kind of draft. This team should not be surprising anybody. And that's what I love. Like, they're not relying on trying to sneak attack anybody in the league next year. This team decided we're going to get good. We're going to spend money in free agency. We're going to be uber aggressive in the draft to get the guys we want in the spots we know we can get them. We're not going to play the game. We're going to rig it in our favor, even if it costs us a little bit more to play. Tep got out of the way. As I mentioned to Rashad, and Rashad agreed. The last 5 months, in my opinion, have redeemed David Tepper. Now, I'm not going to sit here and argue he's, one of the best owners in the league. But he's gone from a guy that for a while there I considered one of the worst owners in the league to not that anymore. Now all of a sudden I'm like, hey, this is a pretty good pickup, man. Tepper's doing the right thing. He's letting his football guys make football decisions, and he's backing them up with the checkbook to do it. A lot of owners will let football guys make football decisions, but they don't necessarily want to bankroll and cut into the investment side of it to do it. And a lot of other owners, Jerry Jones, are willing to spend a bunch of money, but they don't let the football guys decide how the spending of that money is going to look. And I think it creates a bit of a detrimental reality for them. And I think it is one that David Tepper has done a very good job of killing off this offseason. I don't get how anybody is surprised by this team. This team has put some talent together. This team has put a solid leadership core together. This team has an owner who's involved, but to the side, not out front. And he opened up the checkbook. This team is not a surprise team, in my opinion. This team is just going to be a good team. Now, does that mean they run away with the division? No. But I'll tell you right now, Lonzo. Fat, let's go look, just because I'm curious. There's a very good chance that I'm going to be putting some coin down on Carolina as division winners this year. If Derek Carr is what the New Orleans Saints are hoping he's going to be, then there's still the possibility that the Saints steal it. Let's not pretend these two teams didn't share an identical record last year. But right now, the Saints are your favorite to win the division at plus 135. The Panthers check in second at plus 250.
Tell me Tampa Bay's last.
Not only last, but they have double the length of the odds of the Atlanta Falcons at third.
Although you know what? I can't blame Tampa Bay. I could for them bringing that guy there, but that guy's no longer there. So they can go back to being what they were before he was
He's
there.
no longer there, Zoe, and they got what they expected to get when he got there. They got a ring.
They did.
At the end of the day, they brought that guy in to get a ring. Mission accomplished.
Because they beat Kansas City for that, right?
Yes. If I recall correctly.
And that would be because of hurt tackles. But injuries are a part of the game.
They sure are. So, all that being said, I think it is abundantly fair to say Carolina should not be taking anybody by surprise. The Saints are plus 135 because of Derek Carr. The Panthers are plus 250. The Falcons are plus 290. The Bucs are plus 600.
I can't wait for the schedule to come out so we can see what that looks like when they're playing who, and it's they were advertising it during the draft.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's either I want to say it's the 11th. They said it was coming out.
Yeah, it seems like it's next week when it comes out, and I can't wait to see that because I'm also curious about who they're playing outside of division because that's going to help too. Or hurt. I mean, if they play the AFC West, that could be bad for everyone in the NFC South.
It most certainly could. We got to take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, I got an interesting bit of sound I want to play for you. Patrick Beverley is an NBA player. Kind of in that Draymond Green group of dudes that are kind of annoying as players, but entertaining when they're not. Beverly was asked, how many players in the NBA actually love basketball? Patrick Beverley gave a very interesting answer that I want to see how y'all feel about. And we'll do it when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Alonzo. This is the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. That is going to be clip 4.
Yeah, I know, because like 2 segments ago, you had me get that ready and you didn't go to it. So I know it. Say.
home runs. Ronald Acuna Jr. also went deep. Only Tampa Bay and the Dodgers have recorded more home runs this season than the Braves, who have 52. Lefty Dylan Dodd gets to start this afternoon for the Braves at Miami, who countered with lefty Jesus Luzardo. The Nationals beat the Cubs 2-1. C.J. Abrams had a tie-breaking RBI single in the seventh for the second consecutive game. Jake Irvin held the Cubs to a pair of hits over 4 1/3 in his major league debut. 5 Washington pitchers limited the Cubs to just 6 singles. The series continues this afternoon. 1:05 first pitch. Lefty Patrick Corbin starts for the Nats against righty Jameson Taillon. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
If you're hired, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years.
We were talking about, who was I talking about? We were talking about Sports Nation the other day. Sports Nation was a good show, but Sports Nation hit its prime before Coward realized he could make a bunch more money by being a hot take artist. Sports Nation was probably the first, like, debate show.
The two together were better than they are separate.
I agree. And I think, I was talking with Cody because Cody is doing a tryout for a Sirius XM show with Michelle Beadle as his co-host.
My dude is working, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Started working with you and realized I could have more than one job.
Yep.
You should get a finder's fee.
Cody owes me 3%.
Sounds fair. Sure, he'll go for that. Is this a TV show or a radio show?
What's that?
The one you said that he's trying out for.
Radio.
Okay. They're gonna be in the same spot or
no, they'll be on Sirius.
no, I mean, are they gonna be in the same
I don't know.
building?
I don't know yet.
Because it definitely makes it easier being in the same room or at least in the same building. For a couple of reasons, like during the whole at-home time, as the producer and the person back in the studio, not knowing if someone was coming back to the mic in time, and you can't yell down the hall, "Hey, come on!" or anything like that.
I would be willing to bet, just based on the direction everything is going right now, that a large chunk of it will be streamed.
Yeah, because they don't have to pay to have people in the same. I mean, from financially, I get that it makes sense.
Honestly, it's to the point where it doesn't make sense not to stream anymore.
I mean, technically, from what I understand, there's a way I could run the board from home. I don't want to do that, though. I'm already a recluse to a certain degree. If I don't have to come to work, man, I think I might go crazy. It's the only place where I actually talk to people.
Ugh,
aside from my wife and kids.
The worst.
I'll be that mumbling dude out in the woods talking to the squirrels. All right, I already talked to the squirrels, but they deserve it. They're menaces.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you, wrapping up our numero dos. I'm going to hit you with this one real quick. Lonzo, I can say this with all sincerity. I really like my job. I'm really passionate about my job. I want to do a good job at my job. And I try to stay on top of stuff at my job.
See, you like your job. I love my job.
Okay.
I feel like no, I'm not trying to one up you here. I'm not trying to do that. I feel like it's divine intervention that put me here, whether you believe that or not. And I believe that this is what I was made to do. And I get that you have some other aspirations to take things to another level and do even more so. I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I also feel like eventually someone's going to walk in and go at the same time because of, how I am. Hey, you're not supposed to be here. Just because you feel like you're supposed to be here doesn't mean everyone else feels that way. But I know there are a lot of people going to their job today and they're like, man, I hate this place. I'm only here because I need the paycheck.
Yeah. Love my job.
There have been times when I didn't love my job.
Oh, listen.
It all has to do with who you're having to work with and things like that. That can make you dread your job for sure.
I think that no matter how much listen, I love my job. There are still times and parts of it that I'm like, oh, I think that's true of everybody.
Yeah, like hour-long meetings. I mean, those will do it to you.
There are things about the job you don't love, but you can be passionate about the job. But at the end of the day, I love the job. And I'm very fortunate because, as you pointed out, I think most people don't love their job. I got a hard time believing, with all due respect, that any of y'all had aspirations of growing up of being a mortgage lender in a bank. But somebody's got to do the job, and it pays good. So I think a lot of people probably love the paychecks of the job. Well, we are not alone, ladies and gentlemen. I don't mean that in the X-Files sense. I mean that in the sense of even at big-time pay levels.
The truth is out there, Rob.
I want to believe. Patrick Beverly has a podcast. It's called The Bev Pod because he's as creative in naming his shows as I am in naming mine. And he got asked by his co-host on that show how many players in the National Basketball Association actually like basketball. And here's what Pat Bev had to say. I love two things about that clip. Number one, it's good to know that I'm not the only one that when they need a metaphor in sports, we always go right to the same thing. Well, you see, it's like if you're talking to a girl. Hey, Rob, how do you feel about this? Well, you see, it's like if you're going on a date. Hey, Rob, you saw that team? Why do they fall apart like that? Well, it's like if you're approaching a girl at a bar. Like, it's always that. So I feel good. I'm validated. Second part I love is, yup, I get it. So we always talk about the Mamba mentality, right? That's what made Kobe, the Mamba mentality. I think there's a lot of people in the NBA that have a Mamba mentality. You know what they don't have? An incredibly innate natural skill set. I promise you, I was the hardest working guy on my high school basketball team. I was the dork that was every practice, first in the gym, last out of it. I'm putting up, 250 free throws a practice, whatever it took. I was the hardest working dude on my team. You know what I was not on my basketball team?
The best player?
Good. Forget the best player. I wasn't good.
Then how were you on the team? Did they have some grade requirement or something, or grade average, so they keep the nerdy kid on there to make the average pump up?
Rob Brown, we need a foul. Go get 32.
So you're a goon, man.
Yup.
I would love that.
Yup.
I would love that. So who am I taking out, coach?
I was the dude that had two jobs. Number one, foul a guy. Number two, the game's over. We are blowing them out or they're blowing us out, and we don't want to risk our stars. Rob Brown, go out there and finish this game up for us. That was it. So I'd go in, I'd lift up a 3 or 2, I'd grab a couple of boards, I'd get my name on the stat sheet for my 45 seconds of play, and I'd go home. A lot of people have the Mamba mentality. They just don't have Kobe's innate ability to play basketball. So you ever been around anybody in competition of any sort that you knew you outworked them and they were just still better than you?
Yeah. We talk about amateur wrestling sometimes. There's guys you go, okay, I'm working just as hard as him, but I cannot beat that guy because he's that good.
There was a dude on our team named Magic Hall. Magic was a great player. Magic loved basketball. Magic did not have the Mamba mentality. Magic was good. He was innately good. He was always the best in the class. I promise you, with all due respect, because the guy was super, super nice. I worked harder than Magic did. But Magic was 6'7" and could dunk from the foul line. I can't practice that. That's never gonna happen. There's another guy on my team, Michael Doe. I've told stories about this guy. 7'2", and you can't teach that. 7'2". Michael did not love basketball. Got a scholarship to go play at Western Kentucky, a Hilltopper. Didn't even make it a season because he hated playing basketball. I could not outwork 7'2". The point is, as I've told you a million times and will a million more, these guys are human beings. They're just people. There are guys in the league that ain't there because they love the game of basketball. They're there because basketball makes you rich if you're good at it, even if you don't love it. I just loved that clip from Pat Bev, and I love the honesty. That was good stuff. Let's take a break. When we come back, got a few more stories I want to get into on the radio broadcast. A couple of baseball stories. We'll address tonight's basketball and Stanley Cup playoff games. And Logan Webb said the Giants, after their trip down to Mexico, had a big problem. That'll be story number 2 in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Did I just waste that joke on all of you? Did I just waste the best joke of the day? Unbelievable. I did. Best joke I've made in weeks.
Wait, what?
I said Logan Webb and the San Francisco Giants have a problem. That'll be story number 2 in the next hour.
I get it now, but let's face it. You know, usually it takes me a little. No.
A great joke.
But they don't know if they weren't listening to the one segment where we hinted at it. So you.
But everybody up here and nobody laughed.
Well, you could blame me. But I was working.
It's a great joke.
They went 6 for 30. Jaylen Brown led the Boston attack with 25 points. Game 3 is in Philly tomorrow night. The Warriors try to salvage a split at home with the Lakers at 6 Pacific. Playoff hockey last night. Leon Draisaitl scored 4 times, but his Oilers lost Game 1 in Vegas 6-4 after the Hurricanes roughed up the Devils in their opener 5-1. And the Angels got a 6-4 win in St. Louis. Shohei Ohtani K 13 over 5 to join Babe Ruth as the only players ever with 500 Ks on the mound and 100 homers as a hitter. I'm Andrew Roach.
Get 3 hours of Jim Rome, middays on CBS Sports Radio. CBS Sports Radio.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports.
ramp.com/sports.
I studied Spanish in college and never got fluent, but then I tried Babbel.
Want the most effective way to learn another language? In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons will have you learning another language in as little as 3 weeks.
Babbel is all conversation based, so it gets you speaking quickly about things you actually talk about in the real world.
You'll really see a difference in how you can speak and how conversational you can be in just a few weeks.
So the reason why I didn't get it when you said that is because James threw up there launching 3-pointers like Carlton, and I was picturing you doing that, and I could not get it out of my head.
Not that any of you care, but I bought a Bel Air Academy basketball jersey, and it has been one of my motivations is to get my arms back in good enough shape that I can wear a basketball jersey again. Because I've got like 6 and I just never wear them. But I added a Bel Air Academy Smith number 7 jersey to the rotation.
So you didn't find the Banks jersey.
No, I thought I found a Banks jersey. I'd have bought that one first.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. May is National Bike Month, so use your bike instead of your car or for a little bit of exercise. When we each share one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Anywhere fans go to cheer on their team, there are behind-the-scenes MVPs, ensuring everything is game day ready. We see you, Joe, fixing seats so every fan can enjoy every game. And Allie, who keeps her stadium running smoothly from the moment the first game starts to the last play of the season. At Granger, you're our MVPs, and we're always here for you. With supplies and solutions for every industry and 24/7 customer support. Call or click Granger.
Yeah, I'll be there at 6:35, Stephen. I looked it up. Runtime, I think, is 2:35, and there are like 2 post credits. Unfortunately, when I was looking up to see if there were 2 post credits, for the first time ever, I got spoiled on one of them.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
I don't look it up. There's gonna be.
Well, I just wanted to know if there was
one Marvel movie has had them.
I wanted to know if there was 1 or 2.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes they'll do a mid credit and that's it, and
Yeah.
people will wait around to the end, and you don't need to. Plus, I want to get home and watch a basketball game. So.
Jackson Mahomes got arrested.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Got to be tough being that guy's brother. Both ways.
Yeah, but at some point, just stop giving him money.
Yeah, true.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. How's everybody? Y'all doing good? Hope so. It's Thursday. You know what that means. In about 17 minutes, it's time for Fight Club. Your home for all things boxing, MMA, and professional wrestling. The only show in the upstate that talks combat sports. It's Fight Club with Lonzo right here on the Rob Brown Show. Stick around for that. But we got a few stories I want to bounce around and off of between here and there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start with this one. I am a fan of Major League Baseball. The sport, not the organization. Okay? Now, I think Major League Baseball has done a decent job of running the game, of improving the game, etc. But then they do stuff like this. Late last week, the Oakland Athletics played a home game at the Coliseum, and they did so as they traditionally do in front of about 7 fans. And there was about 3,500 in attendance, and a good chunk of those were standing out in right field. Now, As you know, we've talked about it many times on this radio broadcast. The Oakland A's are moving. They are leaving Oakland, where they have been since what? The 60s? And they are leaving to go to Las Vegas. In order to make that move to Las Vegas, baseball didn't do the right thing and just go, hey, we're going to make more money. Sorry, Oakland. Instead, they took the route of doing everything that they could do to ruin the experience at Oakland so that the fans would not show up because it's a crappy situation, literally in some cases, so that when they decided to move, they could blame the fans. That's exactly what they did. Well, the fans aren't happy about it. During a game last week in the 7th inning, A's first baseman Ryan Noda hit a home run into the right field bleachers. Out there in right field were a sizable chunk of the not so sizable chunk of fans that showed up. And over the railing in right field, which, by the way, hilariously enough, displayed how bad the field was, because over the scoreboard, there's just a big iron rusted beam that is the right field wall. Covering the majority of that beam were signs that said things like sell, #Fisher out, stay, sell, liars, etc., etc. Let's just say if it was a popularity contest, the ownership and management of the A's not going to win it. Well, Ryan Noda went yard to center right. And in the highlights, as the ball traveled out towards right field, those signs were very clearly displayed on the broadcast. However, should you go to MLB.com to look up some highlights, you will see Ryan Nodal's home run. The problem is that Major League Baseball, in a statement that is going to be relatively dramatic, went old school Soviet style. They quite literally cropped out and erased the signs in right field. Just got rid of them entirely. So now, whereas you traditionally see the dinger traveling on camera from behind home plate, right? You got the hard cam out in center left. That's the cam you watch the pitch from, right? And they angle it so that you can see the pitcher, and then off to the right, you see the batter, and you can watch the pitch in the swing. If a ball gets driven deep, there's another cam that is set up out behind home plate and up and elevated. And that's the ball. That's the camera that tracks the ball as it makes its way over the field and into the stands. And on that camera, very clearly were the signs that said Caval equals liar, sell, stay, # whatever. Fisher equals liar, Fisher bad, whatever. But if you go to the MLB.com footage of that home run, they have literally zoomed in so much that you don't see the actual baseball until it lands. Now, for those of you that watch baseball, you know that traditionally they try to film the angle of the ball with that hard cam that is elevated so that you can see the elevation, right? We're impressed by how high, how far, how fast the baseball is sent out of a park. It's filmed that way to give you a scope of how big the dinga was. Baseball, Major League Baseball in this case, decided to zoom so far in order to cut out all the signs calling them liars. You know, that thing that they are, and it is proven to be true, that you don't even get to see the home run. It's literally the camera just goes out to the seats and films a bunch of people watching the ball come towards them. It's obnoxious, and I hate it. I don't like that. I don't like that. You made the bed, Major League Baseball. You allowed the A's to make the bed. Lie in it. This is on you, and quite literally, nobody else. Own it. Own it. That is some Soviet-style propaganda right there, man. And I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. All right, a couple other stories. The Braves had another one against the Marlins last night. I can't figure this team out, dude. I really can't. And here's why I can't figure this team out. The Atlanta Braves are now 21-10. They are first place in the NL East. They were able to get a couple from the Mets in a series. The Mets, by the way, the second place team in the NL East, and they are 5 games out. So are the Marlins. The Phillies are 6.5 back. And the Nationals are 8.5 games back of first place. So the Braves right now hold the largest lead between first and second in every division in Major League Baseball. The Rays are 4.5 games up on the O's in the AL East. In the Central, the Twins are 3 up on the Guardians. In the West, the Rangers are 1.5 up on the Angels in the National League. The Pirates, the Buccos, are 1.5 games up on the Brewers, and the Dodgers are 1.5 games up on the Arizona Diamondbacks. The largest divisional gap in Major League Baseball is from the Braves 1 to the Mets 2 at 5 full games. That's great. The problem I have is the Braves, for whatever reason, just can't seem to get it done against the quality teams. All of the games that pop up as potential NLCS or World Series previews, the Braves struggle. They lost 3 out of 3 against the Astros. They have played 2 series against the Padres. They have a losing record against that team. The teams they have beat, they swept the Reds. They swept the Royals. They have won, I think, all but 1 against the Marlins, who they have played 7 times so far. They're 6-1 against Florida. And they are 2-1 against the Mets. They have played 2 teams that either are or were considered World Series contenders, the Padres and the Astros, and they've lost the majority of those games. So I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know what to make of this baseball team. They're streaky. They went on that, 8-game, 9-game win streak before they dropped 4 in a row, 1 to San Diego and 3 to the Astros. They come back and take 3 out of 4 against Miami. They take 2 out of 3 against New York. It was set to be a 5-game series, but the rain washed out Saturday and Sunday. So they played a doubleheader on Monday, and they'll make up the other doubleheader in, I think, September. And they have now taken 2 out of 3 against Miami. They'll look to sweep this series coming up today at 4:10 down in Miami before they return this weekend to play some games at home against the Baltimore Orioles. That's a team they can beat. Probably go 2 or 3 against Baltimore. Then they got Boston for a pair of interleague games. Should go 2-0 against them. The next series I'm very curious about, I'm very interested in. May 12th, 13th, and 14th, when the Braves go on the road to take on Toronto, followed by a roadie to go down to Arlington to take on Texas. 6 games, 3 against Toronto, 3 against the Rangers. By the way, surprisingly good Rangers team. Baltimore is 20-10. That's why that series is not a guarantee. But I'm interested in the next 2. The Blue Jays are 18-13. The Rangers lead the AL West at 18-12. These are good teams. The Braves are going to have to prove to me that they can get it done against quality, because they haven't yet. They've gotten it done against inferior teams. But I got to see them get it right against quality teams, and they are about to enter a stretch where they have the opportunity. A 3-game series at home against the O's, a 2-gamer at home against the Red Sox, a 3-gamer on the road at Toronto, and a 3-gamer on the road against Texas before they come home for pretty much the entire back half of the month of May. And that'll be interesting because they also get Seattle and the Dodgers for 6 after that. So this, starting on Friday, starting tomorrow, we're about to learn if the Braves are any good or not. That being said, yesterday the Bravos lost Kyle Wright. Went 3 innings. He was last year's MLB wins leader with 21. Left last night's game in the 3rd inning with a trainer after experiencing soreness in his shoulder. He had a slow start to spring training. Got a cortisone injection in January for that shoulder. Was able to get called up. Pitched a couple. And after starting the season on the disabled list, made a couple of minor league rehab starts. Got activated. 4 outings, a 4.86 ERA on 4 starts, pitched only 16.2 innings on the season with 17 Ks and 9 walks. 95-mile-an-hour heater in the opening inning, dropped to 92 in just 3 innings before they yanked him. That's not good. Dylan Dodd gets called up. I believe Dodd is getting the start tonight or tomorrow. It'll be interesting. But the Braves have effectively a 12-game stretch coming up where we are going to learn if they are actually good or if they're just better than average. This is an important 12-game series for Atlanta. Final thing before we get out of here and get some Fight Club in the next segment, let me grab clip number 3, Lonzo. The San Francisco Giants went down to Mexico. Oh, Mexico. Went down and played a little baseball in Mexico. The G-Men have a pitcher named Logan Webb. He just got fat stacks in an extension earlier this year. They went down to Mexico City. They take on the San Diego Padres. And, well, be real, it was pretty good baseball. First game, there were like 11 dingers between both teams. Good baseball. A lot of fun baseball. A lot of runs scored. But according to Logan Webb, this team might be regretting it a little bit. Why? Because they got home and Montezuma had his revenge. Digestive issues strike the San Francisco Giants, according to
So the
Logan
bleeping,
Webb.
was that you or someone else?
No, that was somebody else. I hate that high pitch.
Yeah, because that was harsh.
awful. Yeah.
It was. It hurt a little.
Yeah, somebody else did that. Logan Webb says 2/3 of the locker room has the bleeps right now, and that hopefully the bleeps go away. You know, I travel abroad every now and then. And every time I do, you get told, what? Don't drink the water. Don't drink the water. Don't drink the water. I don't know if the San Francisco Giants drank the water or not, but that sucks. 2/3 of the, if 1 or 2 guys come back with a little stomach bug, it's like, hey, it's the risk. It's the risk you take heading down to Mexico. 2/3 of the locker room. Do you believe him? 2/3 of the locker room. Do you believe that?
That kind of bug, it goes around quick. Yeah, so I do believe it. I hope they had enough restrooms. That's all.
Is this wood or particle board?
I don't believe in that stuff, so I don't care.
I don't either, but I'm not taking any risk. I think this table over here is wood. I
don't think there's any genuine wood in this room.
I have not experienced something like this yet. So I'm very much hoping.
Wait, you've never had a digestive problem that caused you to stay at home and reign on your throne for a long period of time?
I mean, I think all of us at some point in our lives have experienced a mild case of digestive issues.
I've had more than mild. So yeah.
But a bug. Logan Webb said this yesterday. That series concluded Sunday. They've been home for 3.5 days at this point. You're telling me you have been confined to the not so friendly confines of the throne room for 3 days?
I've had something that bad before, yes. And you feel like, and you just don't eat anything, even though you should, or drink anything, even though you should, and you don't understand how it's still possible for things to still exist to evacuate.
3 days. Wow.
Man, you're lucky if you've never had anything that bad before.
Not for 3 days.
Yeah,
I've had, look, I've had the flu that lasted like a week, kicked my rear end.
That is one of the only things that I will call in for.
The flu?
No.
Oh, the other one?
I'll come in with the flu. I like
Yeah.
sharing with everybody. But no.
I've had the flu that's knocked me down for 4 or 5 days. I've had some real nasty head colds that have knocked me down for a few days. I've had migraines that have knocked me down for a couple of days. Y'all know me. I've been here for 3 years. I think I've taken 3 sick days. I'm averaging 1 sick day a year. I did one when I knocked my teeth out.
We don't count COVID because we didn't have a choice. I mean, for that.
Dude, I broadcasted with COVID.
Yeah.
I just did it from home.
Me too. Remember?
Yeah.
You're like, jump on here. I'm like, dude, I'm recovering from COVID.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. I broadcasted with COVID. I broadcasted with
I was
cold.
slurring my words. It was bad.
And I mean, respect to the Giants, they haven't missed any games, but I'm just saying, like, I've had the flu, I've had head colds, I've had migraines that have knocked me out for a day or two. Never once has the phone. Hey, boss, it's Rob. I'm not gonna make it in today. Why? Flush. I'm busy.
I think last time I tried that, plugs were mentioned for some reason. I'm just saying.
Take sentences I never thought I'd hear for 500, please, Alex. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for Fight Club with the great one. Boxing, MMA, pro wrestling. It's all getting talked about next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Just realized you might be thinking of something totally different than what I am, but
Talk about the runs.
Yeah, it's something about cork that stops liquid from coming out.
Yeah.
But other people use that for something weird. Yeah.
That's why it was funny.
Yeah, I didn't mean that kind.
That's why it was funny.
I just hope if the powers that be were listening, I hope they know that I didn't mean that kind. But anyway.
Finished in the top 25 and beat Clemson with that number being the case. How about current players in the NFL for each school? 37 for Clemson, that's 10th. 27 for South Carolina, that is number 20. And how about most players drafted all time? Clemson, 268. South Carolina, 12. Giving you a little background on the NFL draft. Clemson and South Carolina, so fun to see. I'm Mark Ryan.
With Mark Ryan this afternoon, 3 to 7 on the Fan Upstate.
I would do that, Steven, but there's other stuff that we got to talk about. So.
Providing much needed relief for chronic joint pain, but not just providing that relief, it's doing it in the most non-invasive way possible using regenerative treatments from your body's own.
I think you need to reverse that, Darth Logan Paul. Yes. And that earlier question about the 3 Jedi and the 3 Sith you would pick, I would pick 1 Sith, and he would defeat everybody. and that would be Darth Revan. Knights of the Old Republic.
Do you think he wins hands down?
I do.
Against 3 Jedi?
I do.
Huh. Guess I need to go back and play that.
Especially when he was in the height of his power, at least when they talked about the height of his power, you didn't really see it.
Yeah.
He also shows up in SWOTOR. And he's very wicked there too. I mean, when you think of Sith versus Jedi, you also think of lightsaber battle, and that's why I wouldn't put Palpatine in there.
I don't know how to do lightsaber.
I mean, you can also use the Force. I think it depends on, do you believe that Windu was allowed to beat him down, or that Windu actually beat him down?
That's a good point. Windu did kick his ass.
He did. And if Anakin doesn't walk in,
Palpatine's toast.
yes.
That's fair. That's actually fair. He might have to come
Because
out
Mace
with
Windu did not play.
But that fight again, what do I get Palpatine in his prime life? Do I get Palpatine v Yoda? Because he went toe to toe with Yoda for like a minute.
He did. Yeah, Anakin's the only reason why Palpatine won. But did Palpatine set all that up? Because as far as strategist goes, he could have set all that up knowing this is how this will probably play out. Or was it just coincidence that Anakin came in and it worked out the way it did? Welcome into the Fight Club. Well, on May 4th, we do talk a little bit off the air, the entire show on the stream on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook about the best Siths versus the Beth Lithide. Sorry, Daddy. I kind of went into some.
Time that
it is. You know, that's something we are talking fighting. So the son of a plumber. So to me, Darth Revan beats them all. And if you don't know who Darth Revan is, you need to go back and play Knights of the Old Republic or Star Wars The Old Republic, and you'll see who that is. As far as Jedi go, I'm going Mace Windu. We were having a discussion off the air about how the Sith Empire rose, at least the last one we saw. And it's because Anakin came in. If he hadn't, Mace Windu was whipping Palpatine's butt. All right. So coming up this Saturday, it is WWE. Man, that's got the wrong thing. Did I get the wrong thing? No, they have it written down. Wow, CBS Sports had the wrong name of the match. They have it at Elimination Chamber when it's Backlash.
It's Backlash.
But it's the right matches. So I had to go down and look. Man, sucks if you own CBS Sports, doesn't it? So anyway, we're going to do Backlash for Nerf Wall. I want to make sure that I clarify it's for Nerf Wall because someday Rob Brown will be on that wall. It as of now has not happened. It's been close, I think maybe once. But we need Rob on that wall. I want Rob on that wall. And we have a new rule, by the way. I don't know if I told you about the new rule.
Mm-mm.
If you lose, you're exempt for the next time.
Why?
Because need parity.
Just tell those people stop sucking.
Well, we could do that, but when you get the same person,
stop being so bad.
Yeah, T2. When you get the same person on the wall multiple times, it becomes boring. I know I was on the wall a bunch, so yeah, I just instituted a new rule, and I hope everyone hates it. All right, let us go to the first match in Backlash, which is in Puerto Rico. Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest. but there's a new stipulation. It's a San Juan street fight, Rob. I don't think we've seen a San Juan street fight before. I'm not quite sure what that is. There's a mystery to it.
I mean, like every street fight's the same, except they throw like a local food item. I saw a clip from Alpha Academy versus, they were in France last week. It was Alpha Academy versus I think the Street Profits. And Alpha Academy started beating the Street Profits with baguettes, which was as funny as it sounds.
No, a baguette would hurt, man. I mean,
know, man.
if you're going to get hit with bread, other than a hard loaf,
baguettes are soft.
They got some weight to them.
Either way, the correct weapon of choice is like a 2-day-old Popeyes biscuit. That thing would knock you out like a hockey puck.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad.
Popeyes biscuits, best in the game when they're hot and fresh. A couple of days later, they are weapons of war.
I don't know who has the bigger biscuits. Those would be a little bit more of concerning. There's some place that has biscuits that are like this big, and I can't remember where it is. This big is like,
I don't know, but please let me know when you remember.
It's like the size of a moon pie, except a lot thicker.
Let me know when you remember. Bad Bunny.
Okay.
They're not going to let that guy lose in front of his own crowd, right? Now, it might be a wonky finish, but I'm going to go with Bad Bunny.
Yeah, but it's also a street fight, which means the rest of the crew can help out Damian Priest. Yep. I'm going to go with Bad Bunny too, but if Bad Bunny were to lose, I think it would be due to the biggest heel in the game, Dom Mysterio.
That's fair.
Because Dom owes him.
He does.
Because this whole thing started because Bad Bunny decided to come at Dom. All right, the next match, the match that everyone cannot wait till it happens, Seth Rollins versus Omos.
Just why, Seth? We didn't even spend time talking about this.
Well, I think the bigger question in this match is, what is Seth Rollins going to wear?
Whatever he pulls out of Becky's closet.
What's popular in Puerto Rico? Yeah, and how long will the song be chanted? All right.
By the way, can I just say real quick, and I don't want to derail.
The song is more over than he is.
No, it's not. He is over, and the song takes him with it. That being said, Heyman answering a call mid-promo was good. Seth saying, gonna be real hard for you to talk to the tribal chief when my fans are singing my song and the audience just leaning into it was an exceptional moment. Also, by the way, to go backwards, Damian's promo was great.
Yeah, I still got to believe, and this is a producer in me, that sometimes chants are started by piped-in chanting, and then the crowd picks it up. This might be one of those times where I believe
I was on my couch, and I started doing it. I don't think so. I think
but you always do it when you're on your couch.
I don't think that's true.
You just randomly started doing it then. Well, I guess it wasn't random. We did bring him up. All right, the next match, SmackDown Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega. Can miracles happen, Rob? Can shockers happen? Because here's a problem. And Rhea Ripley has the Raw belt. Rhea Ripley is no longer on SmackDown. And this is for the SmackDown belt. Can weird miracles happen to where petite little Zelina Vega is able to take out the true monster of women right now in the WWE and Rhea Ripley?
No.
I don't care if the wall is on the line. I'm going Zelina Vega here.
Well, I appreciate you giving me a one-match handicap here. They didn't put Drew over in Scotland.
Yeah, but belts weren't, the draft wasn't in play. This is what, and by the way, this is coming to me as we're talking. I just made this decision because I thought about the belts, because people
are great, but then almost every belt has to change. NXT belts are getting dropped.
Right,
tag belts are getting dropped.
They do. Would you rather see, oh, you're this champion now, here, you take this belt? No, you want to see the belts change hands like they should change hands. And there's an outcry in the universe, if you will.
Why do you have Rhea Ripley in it now? She is the most, as she said, not me, mommy's always on top. Which, by the way, Dom's face when she said mommy's always on top was hilarious. I love that guy.
Here's why you do this. Someone on Raw who wants Rhea Ripley to lose so you can start the next feud for her on Raw causes her to lose to Zelina Vega.
Nah.
Okay. All right. In the same vein, Bianca Belair versus Io Sky. Bianca Belair, the Raw champion, who went to SmackDown. Does Io Sky, thanks to damage control, win the belt away from Bianca Belair?
This one is the one that has the more likely possible outcome. This is the one where
I'm gonna tell you, I'm going Io Sky for the same reason. I can't go that way with the one and not go that way with this one.
That's fair. I am going to join you on this one. I think this is a good opportunity for Bianca, who is super over, to drop the belt. It dramatically raises the heat on damage control, but it also allows them the start of their breakup angle, because we see that coming.
Because then Bailey goes after Io to get the belt back.
So I'm going to go this one. I'm going to follow you on this one.
All right, the next match, United States Championship match between Austin Theory and Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed. And because I don't care if I go on that wall, they're going to have to extend the belt when Bronson Reed wins the belt. And here's the reason why I think Bronson Reed wins the belt. Austin Theory just went to SmackDown. I think Austin Theory is who they push going after Roman next. Because Vince McMahon's back in charge, remember? And who's his guy? Austin Theory. So I'm going with Bronson Reed to win that match.
I've kind of jumped off a little bit thinking Vince is responsible for all the things we don't like, and H is responsible for all the things we do.
I prefer to do it that way. It makes it easier.
I'm fair. That's fine. I agree with that. But I'm not going to say that's the case anymore. I'm going to say Theory retains.
Okay.
I think you're going to end up with Bronson and Bobby getting after it, because that's going to be awesome.
And if I recall, I think they all are on SmackDown now.
Correct.
All three. All right. There are two more matches. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Riddle versus the Bloodline.
Sami and KO retain.
It's not for a belt.
It's not for the belt. Oh, that's right. It's
trios.
That's right. I think you got to. I think the OG bro is going over. I think the original bro is getting set up for a push. I think you've got to keep gold off of the Bloodline for this whole thing, because at some point we got to see if Solo turns on his brothers for Roman, and I think they cannot have gold or momentum for that to happen. They got to keep upsetting Roman, eating else.
Bloodline has lost a lot lately, especially to these guys.
Yep.
And I'm going with Bloodline to win this. So we're going exact opposite on almost everything.
Yep.
Which doesn't bode well for me. All right. Finally, Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. And Cody has said he has to beat Brock Lesnar. He cannot move to the back of the line. I did not like when he said that, because that makes me believe he is going to move to the back of the line, because hard times, baby.
It's hard times out
It's
here.
hard times. And
Son of a plumber.
Yeah.
Son of a plumber.
Yeah, so it makes it difficult. Who you got, Cody or Brock?
Cody. I like Brock. I like angry cowboy Brock. I love him telling the state of Texas, I'm the only cowboy in Texas.
Real cowboy. I'm a real cowboy.
I just like guys who talk smack about Texas, because it makes them so mad, and I love it.
Yeah, they don't like that.
I'm gonna go Cody wins, and then we've got this angle of him chasing the other belt. I just really hope they don't put him on him as a consolation prize. Like, hey, it's okay that he lost to Roman, and we're doing this again.
All right.
Cody's got a belt now.
Speaking of which, that was the next thing we're going to talk about, the new WWE belt. We talked about it before, and you and I were talking about, man, in the draft, if they draft one to one place and one to the other, this is a consolation belt. Everyone's talking about the fact that this is a consolation belt. Does this complete the story? Now, according to how Cody is going with it, it would complete the story if he wins the belt. Doesn't mean he's the inaugural winner, though. Doesn't mean he's the first guy. There's going to be a tournament. Doesn't mean he's going to be the first guy to win it. Probably the first guy to win it is probably Seth. But then do you do that after Cody's beat Seth so many times? I don't know. But this is a consolation belt. No matter what they say, it's a consolation belt.
I don't think it's a consolation belt. I think it's a TV belt. I think it's a belt designed to have a belt on both brands.
No, you know what? It's a USA belt.
I think so. I think it's a TV belt to have a champion on both brands without disrupting the story they're talking about with Roman. I don't think it goes on Cody. Now, it's not to say that Cody goes to the back of the line, but I don't think it goes on Cody. I think it goes somewhere else. Maybe Seth to give it some legitimacy out of the gate. But I think it's fine. I think if you have somebody who is committed to showing up and wrestling for it every week, then it's the right decision. But I don't view it as a consolation belt, mainly because I think it's too stupid of an idea to put it that way. You basically kick the legs of legitimacy out from underneath it before it even starts if you put it on Cody Rhodes.
I think they're going to put it on Cody Rhodes. But I agree with what you're saying. Did you get to see Indy Hartwell's goodbye to NXT?
I did.
I thought that was a great ending. Not everyone who gets called up. Actually, she's the only one who got called up.
She's the only one that didn't have to eat nail before she went up. Right?
But she also is injured.
Yeah.
But she's the only one who actually got to say goodbye. Everybody else just moved up. But Indy Hartwell's final goodbye was really cool. I was always an Indy Hartwell fan, and Dexter coming out from underneath the ring to carry her out. I thought that was great to the story. And she made sure she mentioned the way in her farewell speech.
Which makes sense because they're almost all on one show now.
Yeah, the only one who isn't is Austin, and they moved him off. So now that you don't have to worry about that part being, it may not be the reason, but it had to factor into one of the reasons why they moved him off of there. So now we're going to get the way back. I'm looking forward to that. James says, laugh out loud, Cody getting another TV title. He had the TNT title initially. He did. And he had a good title reign for AEW then. Speaking of AEW, last night, Bryan Danielson comes out and says he's better than Bret Hart. Now, he never said Bret Hart, but he did say that he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. What do you think about that?
I like it. Why wouldn't you like it? Insulting legends is an easy way
but you're insulting a legend that can't do anything about it. That's the only part that
One thing that I dislike when companies do, I say all of them, but both of them, is when they pretend that their company exists in a bubble and nothing outside of that exists, right? Like, if you're a guy like Bryan Danielson, who's been a wrestling fan his whole life, if you're a guy like Alonzo and Rob, been wrestling fans our whole lives, don't, as AEW, ask me to pretend that all the greats of WCW and WWF and WWE didn't exist, and vice versa. I think it is not. One of my favorite moments was when Seth gave a compliment to Mox. Not Ambrose.
Yeah.
Moxley. Yeah. I think it's silly to pretend that other companies don't
Let's
exist.
Face it, MJF doesn't care. He mentions everybody. So.
I think it's dumb to pretend like other companies don't exist. I think it's dumb to pretend that the history of the sport doesn't exist. It doesn't protect your brand. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Makes you seem kind of pretentious. Can you think of a world in which Coke pretends Pepsi doesn't exist or vice versa? It'd be a silly place to live. Competition breeds excellence. And so for DB to call out a living legend of another company, technically speaking, although the Hitman has been on AEW multiple times.
Yes.
To call him out, a guy who has participated in that company, and say, I'm better than the excellence of execution, the best there is, the best there was, and the best that ever will be. Even I put it on last night. I was doing this after we were done playing video games and I was show prepping. And when I heard him say that phrase, I put the tablet down to tune in because that works.
Yeah, it does. And now that we're talking about it, also the Owen Hart trophy's coming back up. So good shot that Brett ends up on AEW and picks someone who is his champion. Who that's going to be, I don't know, to go up against Bryan Danielson. Also, the return last night of my favorite women's wrestler on AEW, Hikaru Shida, who I think who carried that company for a long time before others, like our friend Dr. Britt Baker, had a rise.
I'm sorry, who?
And DMD, yeah, and the other WWE wrestlers showed up. Hikaru Shida was always the best wrestler in AEW as far as women goes, and I think she needs to be up there in the title picture again. And her turning on Saraya and Storm and
that's cool because they got me. They got me with
what's
it.
her name now?
Ruby Soho.
Ruby Soho.
Ruby,
I was trying to sing the song.
Soho.
I was trying to sing the song in my head because
they got me with that. That was a good little move.
Yeah, that was good. Also, last wrestling thing before we touch on MMA and finish it up. I just saw something that Matt Riddle tweeted that's available on the WWE shop. Would you wear Matt Riddle bro boxer briefs? Because they're selling them with the bro across the front. Would you wear those? I mean, it's underoos. That's basically what it is. I mean, it's one thing to wear a t-shirt or a jersey, but are you going to wear underwear of your favorite wrestler?
I will wear wrestling t-shirts till the cows come home and then get up and go back out again the next day. I will not wear another man's name, face, likeness, or image on my junk.
What if it was Burberry underwear?
No.
Okay, I
got no problem rocking wrestling.
I saw
shirts.
those. I was like, who buys that? Who does that? Someone must. They put them on the shop.
I am not girding my loins with another man's name, image, or likeness. It's just not happening. All right. There's lines even I won't cross. Liberob the woke warrior.
Do you want your girl going, bro?
No, she'd be like, are you for real?
Yeah. Well, if she recognizes what it is, I mean, that's not.
She lives with me.
No, that's what I'm saying. She is a collective she. If she recognizes what it is, that's kind of good for you. That means she's into some of the stuff that you're into, so to speak. All right. Finally, John Jones is retiring.
Allegedly.
This time on his own, not because of something he did. So he is saying that after the Stipe Miocic match that's going to happen at Madison Square Garden, I forget when, I think it's like September or October or something like that, that he will retire no matter what the outcome, unless Francis Ngannou comes back.
Texter said, Mike said, you should have seen Bray Wyatt's The Fiend underwear across the front. Let me in. Sorry, what were you asking me about? Because I could not read that.
Let's just.
Tell me. John Jones retirement.
Yeah. What that tops that? Because I don't believe he's retiring anyway.
No, I believe he retires.
If he retires after the match, it's because there's something else going on.
I agree with him. If he doesn't get Ngannou next, he calls it a career, and I'm fine with that. But the only reason he says it now and out loud is to drive more money. Either as much money as he can get to this fight versus Stipe to make it the biggest bag he got before he walks, or to basically call out Ngannou to get Ngannou back, because Jones v. Ngannou, the fight we've all wanted for a while, would be the highest grossing UFC event of all time. Book that. Back after this to wrap up the show on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate, y'all.
That was just wrong. Yes.
Gets the start this afternoon for the Braves at Miami, who countered with lefty Jesus Lazaro. The Nationals beat the Cubs 2-1. C.J. Abrams had a tie-breaking RBI single in the seventh. The second game, Jake Irvin held the Cubs to a pair of hits over 4 1/3 in his major league debut. 5 Washington pitchers limited the Cubs to just 6 singles. The series continues this afternoon. 1:05 first pitch. Lefty Patrick Corbin starts for the Nats against righty Jameson Taillon. Stanley Cup playoffs. The Hurricanes beat the Devils 5-1 to take a 1-0 series lead in the best of 7. Game 2 tomorrow in Raleigh. Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Aaron Rodgers is reuniting with yet another one of his former receivers. The Jets signed Randall Cobb to a 1-year deal. Cobb caught 6 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons with the Packers. He now joins newly added wideouts Alan Lazard and Nicole Hardman in New York. The Giants re-signed edge rusher O'Shane Zimenez to a 1-year deal. He had 2 sacks in 15 games last season. Former Bucs offensive tackle Donovan Smith is signed with the Chiefs on a 1-year deal, reports NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. More from Rappaport, the Ravens are signing quarterback Rock Ya-Sin to a 1-year deal. Sticking in the AFC North, the Bengals have signed quarterback Trevor Siemian to a 1-year deal. He started 1 game for the Bears last season. Another veteran quarterback, Brandon Allen, is signing with the 49ers, reports NFL Network insider This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away.
Did you see where we're going for a ratings party?
I saw the invite, but I didn't see where we're going.
You ought to see what's included in it.
Destination.
Of course, it's like 11:30 to 1:30, so we missed the first half
I thought
hour.
it said 1 to 3 or something like that.
No, it's 11:30 to 1:30.
Oh, it is.
I don't want to say out loud what we get, but if you look further down near the bottom, it says what all you get. Aside from the bowling.
Spare time. Oh, some chumps about to get smoked at laser tag. Some folks about to get rocked.
Not just that, but the game card too. That's you didn't see the game card.
Hey,
right.
Laser tag. Some chumps
How
are about to get rocked.
How about doing all of it? Because see, here's the thing you do. We're done at 1:30. You save the game card till 1:30 and then you go play games at 1:30. Yeah. I'm disappointed that no one has fought me on my board. So maybe you just don't get what I was trying to say. The Duel of Fates theme is better than any theme in Star Wars. That includes the Star Wars theme itself. Duel of Fates is the best ever theme in Star Wars. So maybe just everyone agrees with me. Rob, do you disagree with me?
No, Duel of Fates is a legend. I will get hype.
As soon as you hear the choir, it's just like, oh, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to go. Yeah, I mean, I love the original Star Wars theme, but Duel of Fates was it. Still is.
LeBron James, 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists combined. How do I feel about that? I like it.
We were told they want 100%. I responded once. Should I respond again? Haven't used my bowling ball, and when did we do that? Was that 6 months ago, or was it a year and 6
I
months?
haven't bowled since that.
Yeah. But see, I'll probably be the only one who will bowl. Everybody else will be doing everything else. You're hyped for laser tag. I want to bowl. If my leg's better, laser tag's ready to go, though. I mean, I've never played laser tag before. I'm a rather large target, though. Maybe I can play against the Rise guys. I might have a shot. We're all about the same agility wise. Because I'm gonna go in there and get hurt. All right, it's time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending. He tells us why. The first thing that's trending is Jessica Alba.
All right, so I brought this up yesterday at the end of the show, and I'm glad the rest of the internet is caught on. There was a young gun tweeter who saw a quick video of Jessica Alba courtside at one of the NBA playoff games a few days ago, and he was like, y'all hear me out. Now, on Twitter, I don't know how many of you guys are, down with the lingo. But on Twitter, y'all hear me out is when you're trying to make an argument that something that is either not well liked or not well known should be well liked or well known. So this guy hit y'all hear me out with a clip of Jessica Alba. Like dudes my age haven't been hot for Jessica Alba since like 2002. All right. Jessica Alba's been a smoke show since I was a junior in high school, maybe longer. This thing did two things. Number one, infuriated me because I'm like, young people, you're not the only smart ones, which makes me know I'm getting old. But number two, it made me feel old as hell because I've been crushing on Jessica Alba since I was like 16 and I'm 38 now.
Yeah, going whippersnappers. Jessica Alba was hot before you were born.
Don't act like you just discovered that Jessica Alba is gorgeous. We done been known.
All right. The next thing that's trending is Rogue One. Let me tell you why. All right, there's because it's May the 4th, and May the 4th be with
May the 4th
all of
be
you.
with all of you.
And haters who say it has to be on the 25th, you can celebrate 2 days. That's how good Star Wars is. It's on the list. The people are listing Star Wars movies worst to best, and Rogue One is last on a lot of people's lists.
GTFO.
That sounds like I should push the button on that.
Nah, I think it's just letters. It's just 4
Is it?
random
Is
letters.
it? Because I think maybe I should have pushed the button on that.
Nah. Rotten Tomatoes has Rogue One ranked number 5 behind The Last Jedi beats Rogue One. Yo, those 4 letters again, but all capitalized this time. All right? No. Last Jedi is not better than Rogue One. They've got they got Force Awakens at number 2. Come on. They got The Empire Strikes Back at number 1. I accept that.
Yeah, I accepted Empire as number 1.
I accept Empire at 1. For me, Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie.
That says a lot about you. So you are a fatalist. You have no hope, and everyone dies. I mean, that's what Rogue One is. Hey, look, let's introduce all these new characters, and they're going to die. They're just all going to die. It's just not. There's no. Let's just sit on the beach and watch our death come. No, thank you.
Don't get Leia the plans for the Death Star.
It's retcon.
What do you mean it's retcon? It's in the movie.
No, what I'm saying is in the original A New Hope, that's not where the plans came from. So
what? They say
Bothan spies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were Bothan spies in Rogue One. That's where they got the plans.
Yeah, but they
then
all
they had
died.
to go into
No. It's a horrible movie. I'm glad some people are coming out and willing to go against the popular view, like what Rob has.
It's popular because it's right.
No. Popular views does not mean. It just means you're going with the crowd.
Rogue One was a great movie.
It's horrible.
It was the
It's horrible.
best.
It's the one Star Wars movie to not watch.
I'm walking out of the show angry, and I need you all to know. We're back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better. He is wrong. I mean, Lonzo. My name is Rob Brown. May the 4th be with you. We'll see you all on tomorrow's edition of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. My buddy from the hockey team said Rogue One was awesome up to the very end when everybody just bleeping died. Guys, do you understand the concept of sacrifice? They made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom and liberty.
I know you're behind me because listening on this.
Captain America, Chris Evans down the hall, everybody.
Hi, it's my birthday today.
It's his birthday.
Happy
his
birthday.
nerdness was foretold by the prophecies.
Lonzo's been on this kick since the movie came out.
I know.
I am very consistent.
And I have made the point. He says the movie is hopeless. I mean, like the very next movie is called
A New Hope.
A New Hope.
Where do you think that hope came from?
And my argument is it's a hope, not a new hope, because Rogue One had no hope in it at all.
Really?
It can't be a new hope when there wasn't
They
hope
would not
before.
have undergone the mission if they didn't
You
have
can't
hope.
have a new
Exactly.
you can't have a new something if you didn't have an old something. There was no hope. There can't be a new hope when there wasn't
No,
hope.
there was hope. If there was no hope, they wouldn't have fought the rebellion. The
There was-
rebellion was
there was-
actively
there
happening.
was no
Therefore,
hope.
there was hope. And then
Everybody
they were
died.
like,
Everybody
had
died.
hope.
Have you ever seen somebody with no hope?
We had
Everybody
hope.
died.
They
Yeah,
built the
actually,
planet, killing
I
the
have
rest.
seen
We
some
lost
people with
hope,
no
and now
hope.
we have a new hope because we got the plans because these people were willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for the well-being of the galaxy.
You know, the validity of anything you're saying doesn't work with the mint because it's just like, yeah, it's just
Find whatever reason you need to justify being wrong.
okay. I'm not saying you have a speech impediment, but it is hard for you to understand.
You may do all you wish.
Chris can call me old all he wants, and it's
Shift the
true.
attention.
You can't be classic unless you're old.
He said you used an old strategy
No, he said he's classic.
to get out of the fact
Yes,
that we realized
yes, classic.
that
Classic
we
because it's
But everyone in this room right now is classic, whether they want to be or not.
classics. My back can prove that. All right. Thanks everybody for agreeing that Rogue One is a great movie.
Thanks for
and
being a part of the
watching.
show, Chris.
Thank you. That's my pleasure. Always.
Rogue One's a
Happy
great movie.
birthday.
Happy birthday. Goodbye, everybody.